Chapter 380. After watching Xiao Hongfei leave, Lu Kuan heaved a sigh of relief. His originally calm face turned a little pale. Although he hadn't fought with Xiao Hongfei just now, he had still consumed a lot of blood essence by constantly activating the giant arm theurgy. Xiao Hongfei wasn't in his best condition, but Lu Kuan could faintly feel that if he were to fight with Xiao Hongfei, who had used his trump card, the final outcome would most likely be a lose-lose situation. Lu Kuan looked at Dahe, who was still in the "I want to beat my chest" pose, and sighed in his heart. If it weren't for Dahe, I'm afraid Xiao Hongfei wouldn't have given in so easily. The unknown theurgy is always frightening. As the young master of the last overseas Black Mountain ape tribe, Dahe's awakened innate theurgy isn't as simple as strengthening the attack and defense of his fist. Even I would lose control of my body for a moment when my body is injured, let alone these traditional immortal cultivators whose bodies are extremely weak. That huge monkey fist, coupled with the demonic chi in the chest, let alone these traditional immortal cultivators whose bodies are extremely weak. This is a powerful theurgy that specifically targets the body. It's also the reason why not many demon beasts on the demon island dare to provoke Dahe. Of course, the sea bear, whose body is even stronger than Dahe's, won't be affected by this theurgy. Although Dahe is a little impulsive and lacking in understanding, he still remembers my previous instructions. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to kill Philostikes and intimidate Xiao Hongfei. It turned out that when Lu Kuan instructed Dahe and Xiao Jin to seduce Philostikes, he had already thought of the fight between them. According to Dahe's understanding of the other powerful demon beasts here, he led them into the seclusion grounds of several demon beasts. However, other than the sneak attack of the green bamboo snake in the bamboo forest, the demon beasts in other places didn't notice their existence. If Xiao Jin hadn't taken advantage of the time when Dahe lured the sea bear out to set up a human array inside and outside the cave, they wouldn't have been able to fight the sea bear. Fortunately, this round of chase had consumed a lot of Philostikes and Xiao Jin's mana. Their original plan was to wait until the next day, when Xiao Jin sensed that Lu Kuan was coming over, to fight them head-on. Dahe relied on Xiao Jin's wishful meteoric iron staff to tangle with the two of them. Lu Kuan waited for an opportunity to join the battle, and with Dahe's innate ability, he unexpectedly killed one of them. Who knew that Philostikes would actually chase after Xiao Jin alone in a hurry, which was why he was quickly killed by Lu Kuan. In the end, under the influence of Dahe's powerful control ability, Xiao Hongfei had no choice but to give in. Lu Kuan put Xiao Jin on his shoulder, and while thinking, he walked towards Dahe, who was smiling foolishly at him. "All right, Dahe, you don't have to smile foolishly. I really don't know how a dumb ape like you managed to survive in the demon beast world until now. Your enemy has been lurking beside you for so long, and you didn't notice?" Lu Kuan said with a smile. As he spoke, a falling thunder ball appeared in his hand, and he quickly smashed it into an open space in the forest. Roar! On the originally empty ground, a tall demon bear with white hair suddenly appeared. Its bare paw slapped forward, and directly slapped Lu Kuan's falling thunderball away. Then, this seemingly mighty demon bear turned around and lay down, sticking out its fat bare butt. Its four limbs quickly kicked the ground, and it quickly fled into the distance, crashing into countless trees. This sea bear, whose physical strength was not inferior to Lu Kuan's in his normal state, had no stagnation at all when it blocked the falling thunder ball and fled with its butt sticking out. Lu Kuan and the others were dumbfounded. Lu Kuan smacked his lips and said, "Dahe, this sea bear race is a powerful race among the overseas demon beasts, right? At least, they are much stronger than your Black Mountain apes." The chimpanzee looked in the direction where the sea bear had fled and nodded blankly. Lu Kuan sighed and said, "Dahe, as the young chief of the Black Mountain apes who has awakened their natural talents, you should learn more from the sea bear. Look at this guy, he knows that he can't beat the enemy, but he is running away without any hesitation. If it were you, you would most likely continue to fight recklessly and be killed. Dahe. Lu Kuan patted the chimpanzee's thick arm and said, "All right, Dahe, let's find a safe place and let the little monkey continue to heal his wounds." Woo woo. Understanding the meaning of Lu Kuan's words, Dahe led the way in front. Not long after, Lu Kuan and Xiao Jin were brought to the place where it had absorbed the demonic aura. This was a huge forest. Under the nourishment of the demonic aura, every tree had grown for tens of thousands of years. Each tree was as big as a dozen people hugging around it. At this time, Dahe had already given up its original tree hole to Xiao Jin. This tree was considered the place with the densest demonic aura in this huge forest. "Xiao Jin, heal your wounds well. After you recover, I will find a place with abundant spiritual aura to break through the bottleneck of the early stage of foundation establishment. After I finish, you can return to the demonic aura area to cultivate for the rest of your time. With your talent in absorbing demonic aura, you may be able to reach the peak of second-level demonic beast in a few years. By then, with my advancement experience, you may also be able to break through in one fell swoop." Xiao Jin nodded obediently and ran into the tree hole. Then, Lu Kuan and Dahe simultaneously felt that the nearby demonic aura was extremely turbulent and rushed into Xiao Jin's body. Although it was a little less active than when the little monkey was healing, it was still more intense than the demonic aura fluctuation caused by a fourth-level peak demonic beast like Dahe. Lu Kuan looked at Dahe's covetous eyes and said with a smile, "Dahe, you can cultivate by Xiao Jin's side. I think you can get a lot of benefits. I will set up a few simple warning arrays nearby. With my protection, there will be no problem. After all, there are not many demonic beasts here that are stronger than me." The chimpanzee smirked and walked carefully into the tree hole. It lay down in a place slightly close to the little monkey and began to cultivate. Lu Kuan saw that the two demonic beasts had entered the state of cultivation, so he set up some simple warning arrays in the forest. Then, he jumped onto the big tree where the tree hole was located. Although he had just entered the Demon Island not long ago, from the beginning, he had been tracking the two people of the Red Refining Sect, killing Kai Fengyan, and ambushing Tian Renjie, who cultivated the Red Refining demonic technique many times. Later, he almost died in the hands of Philostikes and Xiao Hongfei. He escaped into the demonic aura area and then counterattacked. He was in a constant battle, not to mention stopping to carefully check the spoils of war. He didn't even have time to relax his nerve. After a little sigh, Lu Kuan put down 9 storage bags on the thick trunk in front of him. Except for 2 that belonged to Kai Fengyan and 3 that belonged to Tian Renjie, the remaining 4 belonged to Philostikes, the eldest senior brother of the Heavenly Talisman sect. Next to these storage bags, there were 2 pseudo-magic weapons shining with spiritual light. Not to mention the things in these storage bags, just the 2 pseudo-magic weapons are already a huge harvest, especially the one belonging to Philostikes. It can be completely transformed and combined with Senior Brother Chin's 5-feathered universe saber. Senior Brother Chin's strength will definitely increase greatly. And this red demon claw is inconsistent with the cultivation method of several senior brothers. I can only modify it and throw it at the Abyss Auction House. Chapter 381. The first was Kai Fengyan's storage bag. Lu Kuan only glanced at it in a hurry before. Except for the blood coagulation grass, he didn't look at the other things carefully. Now that he checked it, he was a little disappointed. Kai Fengyan's other things were nothing more than some ordinary magic tools, materials, and talismans. The best magic tool in it was only a level 3 psychic magic tool. There were also some jade slips, which should be the cultivation method of the Red Refining sect. In addition, the most valuable thing was such a good demon token. "Hey, is this the Scarlet Blood Yuan pill?" Lu Kuan's hand flashed, and an emerald green medicinal pill appeared, not the crimson color he imagined before. It should be. I can distinguish the smell of the blood coagulation grass. This guy only has 600 intermediate level spirit stones on him. As the second senior brother of the Red Refining sect, he is so miserable. Lu Kuan shook his head, put the scarlet blood yuan pill in, picked up a few jade slips and browsed briefly. He found that except for the scarlet magic technique, it was a common cultivation method. Then he put the jade slip of the scarlet magic technique aside and continued to look at Tian Renjie's storage bag. Lu Kuan first happily took out a dozen blood coagulation grass. With these numbers, he could refine enough blood marrow powder. TSK, this Tian Renjie's value is much higher. There are more than 2,000 intermediate level spirit stones. Hey, these materials are also very precious. He deserves to be the senior brother of the Red Refining sect. Lu Kuan continued to inquire in Tian Renjie's storage bag. Suddenly his eyes lit up. He took out 2 pill bottles, opened one of the jade bottles, and poured out a gray-white medicinal pill. Yes, this should be the Etian pill. It is exactly the same as the one in Zhao Jinhong's storage bag. Senior brother Zhu will soon reach the great perfection of the foundation stage. It is just right for him to form his core. The other one is the scarlet blood yuan pill. It feels more advanced than Kai Fengyan's, but unfortunately it is useless for me. Lu Kuan took back the medicinal pill with some regret. Then he took out 2 talismans with strange fluctuations. These were the intermediate level top control spells that Tian Renjie used to deal with him. Lu Kuan sighed and said, "This spell may be a unique spell of the scarlet magic technique, but my thunder attribute spiritual power can't activate it at all. Otherwise, it won't be so troublesome to deal with the philosophies." Shaking his head, Lu Kuan then took out a lot of dark red blood bottles from the storage bag. After sensing it slightly, his face sank. This guy really killed a lot of cultivators. Even if the blood essence of the body cultivator was found, the consequences would be unimaginable. If the blood of the body cultivator's blood was found facing the Red Refining sect, the consequences would be unimaginable. Then Lu Kuan said with a bit of relief, "Tian Renjie has been killed by me. It will take many years for the Red Refining sect to have the next one who can cultivate the scarlet magic technique. By then, our body cultivator lineage is likely to develop. By the way, the blood sacrifice method of the old ghost Murong back then felt very similar to the scarlet magic technique. It also broke through the bottleneck through the power of the blood essence. Later, I absorbed it by chance, which allowed my Vajra tactics to enter the realm of great accomplishment. The jade slip left by Tian Renjie before he died seems to be the scarlet magic technique. I will study it later. Maybe it will inspire my body refining technique." After checking the storage bags back to his waist, Lu Kuan looked at the remaining storage bags. Even if he killed a lot of cultivators in the foundation stage and had a high net worth, he couldn't help but show excitement in the face of the savings of the senior brother of the Heavenly Talisman sect. "When I took the pills just now, I found a heavenly change pill and a second spirit accumulation pill. With my experience of breaking through the foundation stage, the power of spiritual sense is also important to breaking through to the core formation stage. Then, I will probably use the remaining spirit accumulation pill. But according to Xiao Hongfei, this pill can only be withstood by the spiritual sense of the core formation stage." Lu Kuan frowned and said, "Although my spiritual sense is quite powerful, if I don't cultivate the spirit sensing technique improved by Martial Uncle Zhu to perfection, it will be difficult for my spiritual sense to reach the level of core formation stage. If this breakthrough is successful, it will be a lot earlier than I planned. Then, I will spend more time cultivating the spirit sensing technique and studying the ancient core formation method." Putting away the divine accumulation pill, Lu Kuan continued to look through the storage pouches. He was shocked when he saw that one of the 4 pouches was filled with spiritual stones. There were more than 7,000 mid-grade spiritual stones in there. One could imagine Feng Lingzi's wealth. There was also a storage bag full of spirit talismans. There were low and mid-grade spirit talismans, but most of them were ordinary. There were only about 10 wind attribute spirit talismans left. Apart from these, the other storage bags were filled with all kinds of techniques and materials. Lu Kuan sighed with emotion. From this, it could be seen that the Heavenly Talisman Sect's talisman crafting technique had made a fortune in the state of Chu. Even so, they still coveted the Yayang clan's tool crafting technique. After all, with the help of a top-grade tool crafting technique, the Heavenly Talisman Sect's strength would most likely increase. Lu Kuan silently pondered for a moment. It seems we need to be more careful. The Heavenly Talisman Sect was so greedy when they heard about the sentient puppet crafting technique. Wouldn't the other 10 great sects be even crazier? We can only develop cautiously. We can't let the 10 great sects associate us with the Yayang clan. Determined to develop in a low-key manner, Lu Kuan put away the storage bags. He leaned against the tree trunk and picked up the jade slip that Tian Renjia had left behind. As he read, Lu Kuan gradually revealed a strange expression. This red refining devil art actually talks about the fusion of blood and magic power. Fusing the blood with the magic power of a cultivator and using a special method to cultivate, the magic power formed will have a different power. Muttering a few words, Lu Kuan continued to read. As he read deeper, his frown deepened. After a few hours, Lu Kuan finished reading all the information in the jade slip. His expression was very complicated. So this is a tyrannical devil art. It unceasingly refines the blood and magic power in the body, and the blood essence can be absorbed through a special method to achieve the effect of a breakthrough. It seems that old Ghost Morong's blood sacrifice is very similar to this, but it also seems to have been modified by someone. That's why it can be used for ordinary cultivators to break through to foundation establishment. For this art, the blood essence of a high-level cultivator is a medicinal pill. Then Lu Kuan had some doubts. According to the description of this art, after reaching core formation, the cultivator's blood will be greatly strengthened. It's very possible that the blood also contains magic power. If that's the case, the magic power is indeed tyrannical, but the blood is stronger than the muscles and bones. Then the physical body is very likely to collapse due to an imbalance. Although Lu Kuan didn't understand this red refining devil art, from his experience in body refinement, the physical body must be cultivated step by step. Although this art is powerful, as the blood essence flourishes, the physical body's other elements become weaker and weaker. This is a contradiction. Could it be that this red refining devil art also has a method to strengthen the physical body that isn't described? Or perhaps only those with powerful physical bodies are suitable to cultivate this art. Chapter 382. After thinking for a while, Lu Kuan showed a self-deprecating smile. This red refining demonic art was re-derived by the red refining sect. It is normal to have flaws. This is the cultivation method of traditional cultivators. Even if it can strengthen the blood later, it is also a matter of the core formation stage. There is no cultivation method after the core formation stage in the jade slip, so it is not of much reference value to me at present. However, Lu Kuan looked at the jade bottle containing his essence blood in his storage bag and murmured, "This method of refining and absorbing essence blood, I can completely use it. Before, when I was healing, I directly swallowed the essence blood, but the effect was too low. If my essence blood is first refined with a special method and then absorbed with the relevant method, even if there is no breakthrough effect in the red refining demonic art, it should be no problem to use it for healing." Then Lu Kuan said strangely, "I didn't expect the central area of the demon island to have a lot of demonic chi. I was wondering why the word demon was engraved on the demon token. Now it seems that it should be referring to the demonic chi and the demonic chi. But the demonic chi and spiritual chi fill the periphery of the island, while the demonic chi is blocked by the silver restriction. Could it be that the demonic chi is sealed in this demon island? But what is there to seal with the demonic chi? Those demonic cultivators are eager to soak in the demonic chi. Lu Kuan thought for a while and couldn't figure out the reason for the existence of the demonic chi, and spiritual chi here, so he put away the jade slip. The matter of killing the Red Refining Sect disciples is completed, and if Xiao Hongfei succeeds in the core formation stage, he can also find a temporary backer for the treasure tool pavilion with the strength of the middle core formation stage. I have to prepare for the breakthrough of the early foundation establishment stage and enter the middle foundation establishment stage as soon as possible. Lu Kuan calmed down and began to organize his thoughts for the breakthrough. The reason why I came to this demon island with abundant spiritual chi is to cooperate with the rich spiritual chi here and force the mana in the bones into the marrow cavity and the cancellous bone deep in the bone. When the blood is filled with magic power, the new blood produced in the body will gradually fuse with the magic power. In the end, when all the blood cells are filled with magic power, it will be the time when the middle stage of foundation establishment is completed. Next, the tempering of my internal organs will be easier, because my blood will naturally circulate throughout my internal organs. Under the tempering of my blood filled with mana, the strength of my internal organs will gradually increase. When my internal organs are strong enough to directly store mana, that will be when I reach the late stage of foundation establishment. Lu Kuan simply combed through his thoughts. He discovered that as long as he broke through to the middle foundation establishment stage, then the late foundation establishment stage, which was the viscera forging stage, would naturally follow without any bottleneck. The only thing he needed was time. Although Lu Kuan's internal organs had been tempered by the Vajra esoteric art and were much stronger than ordinary immortal cultivators, they were still the weakest part of his body. They couldn't be tempered in a short period of time. If I want to fully utilize the dense spiritual energy here, I have to engrave a spirit-controlling formation on my body. This way, whether it is controlling or circulating my mana, it will be smoother. Moreover, the power of my divine sense is already at the late stage of foundation establishment, which will be of great help to the breakthrough. The next thing I have to prepare is to refine all the blood marrow powder, engrave a spirit-controlling formation on my body, and then find a suitable place to break through. After Lu Kuan thought about it, he took out the blood essence he had prepared in advance and the blood coagulation grass he had just obtained from the two people from the Red Refining Sect. These materials were enough to refine a large amount of blood marrow powder. Then, he took out the congealed jade bottle and refined it alone on the branch. He was familiar with the refining of this blood marrow powder. If there was really a demon beast disturbing him, he might ask Dahe to help him block it. Time slowly passed by as Lu Kuan refined the materials and the two demon beasts cultivated. In the central area of the demon island, which was the silver restriction in the middle of the demon spirit mountain range, there was a bottomless abyss filled with dense black devil chi. The bottomless abyss was wrapped in a silver restriction that connected to the sky. It was impossible to see the devil chi from the outside. Inside the abyss, the stone walls next to the abyss were eroded by the devil chi and turned purple-black. There were even some tenacious plants and rock. After being contaminated by the devil chi for many years, they formed many refining materials that were precious to the devil Dao cultivators. At this time, at the bottom of this devil abyss, Tian Renjie, who only had half of his body, was lying on the ground. On his body there was a black disc, and the devil chi nearby was slowly being absorbed by this disc. At the same time, bursts of black spirit light gushed out from inside, covering half of Tian Renjie's body. It seemed to be protecting Tian Renjie. If one looked carefully, one would find that there was still a part of the spirit light drilling into Tian Renjie's body. Suddenly, Tian Renjie's incomplete upper body seemed to tremble slightly, as if he was not dead. At this moment, a green light shot out from the depths of the devil abyss. The green light was extremely dim, as if it would disappear at any time. When it saw Tian Renjie's incomplete body, it rushed in like a cat seeing a fish. Then Tian Renjie's hands suddenly covered his head, and his mouth let out a scream. In this silent devil abyss, it was very harsh. After Tian Renjie's scream, he was like a dead fish, and there was no movement. After an unknown period of time, the incomplete corpse opened his eyes, and a faint green light flashed in the depths of his eyes. Tian Renjie had come back to life. I didn't expect that just when I couldn't hold on, the secret plan I set up in the past finally played its role. Although I was beaten into half, and my divine soul was in a state of confusion and about to dissipate, I was still a living human cultivator. Tian Renjie's mouth opened and closed, and a horrifying hoarse voice came out. His voice was full of boundless meaning, as if he was an old man who had lived for countless years. Then Tian Renjie picked up the black disc with one hand and looked at the devil token inlaid on it. Tian Renjie's face showed a trace of nostalgia. That guy really kept his promise and made this devil token. We didn't waste our efforts to send him out in the past. Otherwise, I wouldn't be the only one left here. Well, this little guy really practiced the devil arts. But logically speaking, some of the devil arts I taught him in the past should be quite strong after practicing it. This guy's cultivation was at the peak of the foundation establishment stage, but his dantian was broken outside the restriction, and his body was broken into two pieces. Could it be that after so many years, the strength of the human cultivators here has become so strong? Tian Renjie, muttered Tian Renjie as he looked at his miserable body. Right, didn't I devour the little guy's divine soul? I'll know after checking. Then the unknown existence that occupied Tian Renjie's incomplete body fell silent, as if he was searching for memories. Not long after, he opened his eyes again, and said with a bit of surprise, "There is actually an existence among the human cultivators who specialize in the physical body." Chapter 383. Tian Renjie was lost in thought. Then, he used his right hand to support his chin, as if he was thinking about his memories. Soon, the face on the broken body showed a puzzled expression. He whispered, according to the memories of this little guy called Tian Renjie, he has never heard of a cultivation technique that specializes in the physical body in the immortal cultivation world. Tian Renjie, this little fellow, only encountered this enemy with a powerful physical body after entering the island. Tisk Tsk, this guy who cultivates his physical body. His last move was really wonderful. He released the power of his physical body incisively and vividly. However, his arm suddenly expanded so much. I seem to have heard of this magical power before. Then, Tian Renjie frowned and said, "But why did this body cultivator chase after Tian Renjie as soon as he entered the island? This little guy doesn't have any impression of this person in his memory. He just wanted to break through as soon as possible." Tian Renjie was lost in thought. Not long after, he showed a look of understanding. "I know. This person's physical body is very strong. His blood essence is a great supplement for demonic art." He probably realized that Tian Renjie's demonic arts were his mortal enemy, so he wanted to kill Tian Renjie before he reached the core formation realm. Tian Renjie said in a relaxed tone, "So, there are very few people who cultivate their physical bodies in the immortal cultivation world. Otherwise, he wouldn't have risked entering the island to kill Tian Renjie when he was only in the early stage of the foundation establishment realm. Then, there are definitely no nascent soul realm cultivators who cultivate their physical bodies. I'm afraid there aren't any core formation realm cultivators either. After I go out, I'll have to look for all the cultivators who cultivate their physical bodies. If the physical bodies of human cultivators become strong, they will be a great supplement for my clan. And I can nip them in the bud. Otherwise, if a high-level body cultivator appears, it will be troublesome." Tian Renjie showed a mocking expression again. It's a new cultivation school. Not to mention the difficulty of breaking through, even if I don't destroy it, with the nature of human cultivators infighting, it won't rise so easily. That's right. If I'm not mistaken, the current human cultivators definitely don't have the help of powerful demons. They should be much easier to deal with compared to the past. Then, Tianrenjie looked at his body and was a little surprised. Red refining demonic art. I didn't pass down this demonic art back then. Looking at the incantation in his memory, it has already been changed beyond recognition. Even so, this little guy can still cultivate to the great circle of foundation establishment. Unbelievable. It's the devil marrow body. As if it had noticed the difference in this body, the hoarse voice was suddenly filled with surprise. Haha, if it's the devil marrow body, then I can refine the other body parts here into this devil marrow body. In this way, the cultivation speed of demonic arts won't be any slower than my original body. After recovering part of my cultivation, I can complete the great cause of my clan. Ha! After laughing wildly for a while, Tianrenjie put away the black disc in his hands. Using his hands as his feet, he walked into the depths of the demon abyss with his broken body. After a while, he disappeared into the depths of the dense demon qi. In a forest somewhere in the demon qi area, Lu Kuan sat on the branch of a big tree and looked at the 10 bottles of blood marrow powder in front of him with a rather excited expression. I didn't expect the refining speed to be even faster this time. In the future, I can try to study the art of alchemy. As Xiao Jin has also completely recovered? At this moment, Lu Kuan clearly felt that the demon qi in the vicinity had calmed down. The little monkey's aura had recovered to its original state and was even somewhat stronger. Thus, he jumped down the tree and landed at the entrance of the cave. The little monkey quickly ran out and jumped onto Lu Kuan's shoulder. It winked at Lu Kuan and squeaked excitedly. The dense demon qi here is really beneficial to you. In just a few days, your injuries have recovered and your demon qi has also increased. Lu Kuan was pleasantly surprised after carefully probing with his divine sense. Squeak squeak. Whoa! At this moment, Dahei also stopped cultivating and ran out. Seeing that the little monkey had recovered to its original state, it began to laugh foolishly, as if Xiao Jin's recovery was more important than its breakthrough. Squeak squeak. At this moment, Xiao Jin pointed at Dahei, then pointed at Lu Kuan and kept squeaking. Lu Kuan was a little surprised when he heard this and said, "You said that Dahei's bloodline is actually the closest to mine?" Xiao Jin nodded, while Dahei continued to laugh foolishly. Lu Kuan recalled Dahei's fists that had doubled in size. It was indeed similar to his giant arm ability. However, his entire arm was much stronger than Dahei's. Dahei, my perception of bloodlines is much worse than Xiao Jin's. What do you feel about my bloodline? Dahei scratched its head, laughed foolishly, and squeaked twice. Lu Kuan looked at Xiao Jin curiously and asked Xiao Jin to translate. Squeak, squeak. Lu Kuan covered his forehead with one hand and did not know whether to laugh or cry. Dahei, you can only sense the ancient demonic ape bloodline, but you can't sense the distance of the bloodline? In that case, Dahei can compete with me in terms of bloodline sensing ability. Then, Lu Kuan thought for a moment and suddenly asked, Dahei, when are you going to break through the bottleneck? Dahei scratched its paws and raised a finger in a very human-like manner. A year later? Dahei nodded. Lu Kuan revealed a thoughtful expression and said, Well, one of my goals in entering the Demon Island is to advance to the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm. If everything goes well, it won't take too long. After I break through, I'll come to you again. Firstly, I'll bring Xiao Jin to your place to cultivate. Secondly, after I break through, I can try to give you something. If our bloodlines are very similar, this thing will definitely help you break through. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Looking at Dahei nodding foolishly with a happy face, Lu Kuan shook his head helplessly. I hope you'll become smarter after you advance to a level 5 demonic beast. Dahe, Xiao Jin and I will leave first. We'll come to you after a while. When the chimpanzee heard that Lu Kuan and the others were about to leave, it immediately showed a reluctant expression and then squeaked a few more times. Squeak, squeak. Xiao Jin immediately translated. Lu Kuan nodded and said, "Don't worry, we'll definitely come to you. After all, I also want to know the true origin of my bloodline." Then, Lu Kuan patted Dahe's thick and strong arm hard and said goodbye to him. Then, he took Xiao Jin and ran towards the outside of the demonic aura area. Soon, they disappeared from Dahe's sight. Dahe looked at the disappearing figures in the distance, then grimaced and touched the place where Lu Kuan patted. It muttered a few words and then turned around and walked into the tree hole. It took nearly 2 years for a demonic beast to advance from level 4 to level 5. Moreover, the difficulty of advancement was no less than that of an immortal cultivator. Especially for a demonic beast like Dahe, who had awakened his innate talent, it was even more difficult. In fact, Dahe was reluctant to part with Lu Kuan before. Apart from the feeling in his bloodline, he also wanted to take Lu Kuan to his clan and let the old monkey in the clan take a look. Although his reaction was a bit slow, his intelligence was not too low. He knew that the strength of the Black Mountain Ape clan was extremely weak and had reached the point of life and death. If they had the help of the ancient demonic ape's bloodline, they would definitely improve a lot. Dahe shook his head. He could not help but recall the situation when he was with Lu Kuan and Xiao Jin in the past few days. He thought about the methods they used to deal with the enemy and remembered Lu Kuan's teachings in his mind. Chapter 384. After Lu Kuan left the demonic aura area with Xiao Jin, he didn't go too far. He knew that there were many powerful cultivators on the Demon Island. Philostikes, who had ambushed him, was only the eldest senior brother of the Heavenly Talisman sect, the weakest of the 10 great sects. Although he had Xiao Hongfei as his teammate, Lu Kuan was only able to deal with them in the demonic aura area with Dahe's help and the fact that the two didn't have enough magic power. If he had encountered more than 2 of the core disciples of the 10 great sects elsewhere, it would have been dangerous. Therefore, Lu Kuan planned to find a place for seclusion near the demonic aura area. The spiritual energy here was affected by the demonic aura and was less pure than other places. It didn't matter that he was advancing to the middle stage of foundation establishment. The other cultivators who entered the Demon Island were all trying to break through to the core formation stage. These people definitely couldn't choose such a place for seclusion. After spending a little time, Lu Kuan used Philostikes' pseudomagic scimitar to dig out a medium-sized cave under the mountain wall. Then, he carefully laid down several formations. One of them was found in Philostikes' storage bag. Its defensive power was extremely strong. Even if he attacked with his full strength, he wouldn't be able to break it in a short time. Then, Lu Kuan instructed Xiao Jin to guard him at the entrance of the cave and walked into the cave. First, he lined up the blood marrow powder that he had just refined and placed it in front of him. Previously, I carved 8 places: the forearms, calves, palms, and feet. However, the spirit-controlling formations on the forearms were destroyed in the previous battle. They need to be repaired first. With the joints as the dividing point, the left and right forearms, the left and right thighs need to be carved. Then, the torso needs to be carved. With the spine as the dividing point, the left and right latissimus dorsi muscles are 2 places, and the back waist muscles are 2 places. For the front of the torso, the pectoralis major is divided by the sternum, so 2 need to be carved. The abdominal muscles don't have any bone joints, so only 1 needs to be carved. The size of each spirit-controlling formation is slightly different. Fortunately, I have enough blood coagulation grass this time. Then Lu Kuan took out the Jiyo cauldron and Philostikes' storage pouch. He said with some emotion, "Philostikes had a wind attribute top-grade spell talisman? There aren't many left, but there are still quite a few fire elemental ones. In addition to what I've prepared, it's enough for me to inscribe the formation. Muttering to himself, Lu Kuan took out Philostaki's pseudo-magic treasure. He cut open the skin on his forearm and placed it into the 9 nether cauldron before tossing in a blaze talisman. He used the power of this top-tier flame to burn the fascia of his arm. Next, Lu Kuan started from the restoration of the spirit-controlling formation on his arm. He gradually inscribed spirit-controlling formations on the fascia of his body's main muscles. After some time, he and Qin Yushu had jointly refined a large number of magic treasures and pseudo-magic treasures. Lu Kuan's refining skills had become extremely proficient. Now, the only thing that limited his refining skills was most likely his cultivation level. Qin Yushu was the same. Their current level was gradually approaching that of Zhu Siming, Nie Wufeng, and Gu Tianjian, whose fate was unknown. They all had the ability to refine magic treasures. Unfortunately, they didn't have a core formation level core fire, so they couldn't refine magic treasures. Only if a core formation cultivator was willing to consume their core fire and listen to their commands could they refine magic treasures. Therefore, with Lu Kuan's current refining skills, it was extremely easy for him to inscribe spirit-controlling formations on his body. Even so, he spent an entire month to finish inscribing spirit-controlling formations on his body. Of course, he also finished repairing the spirit-controlling formations on his arm. Fortunately, I have Philostaki's bag of talismans. Otherwise, the ones I prepared wouldn't be enough. I didn't think that after entering the peak of foundation establishment early stage, my defensive power would increase by a bit. After muttering a few words, Lu Kuan closed his eyes. The surrounding spiritual energy quickly surged into Lu Kuan's arms. Then, the lightning seal on his arms transformed the spiritual energy into lightning attribute magic power that quickly circulated throughout his body. Feeling the flow of magic power without stagnation, Lu Kuan revealed a trace of a smile. This way, with the help of the rich spiritual energy, I can continuously transform the spiritual energy into lightning attribute magic power. After my body is full of magic power, with the help of my spiritual sense and body spirit controlling formation, I can push the magic power into my bone marrow and bone. After sorting out his thoughts for a breakthrough, Lu Kuan was in no hurry to break through. Instead, he lay down inside the cave and slept for 1 day and 1 night. Although cultivators could maintain their peak state without sleeping, the mental exhaustion was not something that could be recovered through cultivation. Moreover, his calculations were very accurate. The day he woke up was the day his spiritual root appeared. Although breaking through wasn't something that could be completed in a day, with the help of his spiritual root from the beginning, he felt more at ease. Therefore, after Lu Kuan woke up, he felt an abundance of energy and Rellingan's appearance and immediately began to break through. Under the combined effect of his spirit root and the spirit-controlling formation, the surrounding spiritual energy quickly surged into his body. Lu Kuan's spiritual energy was already full, and it didn't take long for his muscles and bones to be filled with thunder attribute spiritual energy. Next, Lu Kuan slowly pressed his magic power into the depths of his bones. In order to ensure that all the bones in his body were synchronized, Lu Kuan slowed down the absorption of spiritual energy. He increased his lightning attribute magic power bit by bit. With every increase in magic power, he could feel the resistance in the depths of his bones become stronger, as if it was resisting his overflowing magic power. Lu Kuan's face also showed a pained expression as his magic power increased. Time gradually passed. Under Xiao Jin's nervous expression, on the 5th day, Lu Kuan's body was already trembling. His face was covered with blood vessels and was incomparably red. His skin was full of green veins and blood vessels. Green and red blood vessels appeared outside his skin. Poochie! Suddenly, a slight explosion came from Lu Kuan's leg. The blood vessels there directly burst, as if it had caused a chain reaction. The blood vessels that appeared outside his body burst one by one, directly dyeing him into a bloody person. After that, Lu Kuan fell straight to the ground. The little monkey, who was carefully observing at the side, was extremely flustered and hurried to his side. Looking at Lu Kuan, who was covered in blood, Xiao Jin anxiously squeaked. Although the little monkey was protecting Lu Kuan, it used its divine ability to hear the situation in Lu Kuan's body clearly. It knew that the resistance of Lu Kuan's bones was too great, and there was no way to press his magic power inwards. The magic power that could not be released in his body could only press against the blood vessels that covered his entire body. Although the blood vessels in Lu Kuan's body had been strengthened several times during the tempering of his muscles, they were only tempered on the outside of his blood vessels and were much weaker than his bones. In the end, they finally could not withstand the pressure of his magic power and burst. Fortunately, through the power of his bloodline, Xiao Jin felt that Lu Kuan's life force was still vigorous and knew that his life was not in danger. As expected, after only a little more than 2 hours, Lu Kuan woke up. At this time, the blood vessels in his body had automatically repaired themselves without the constant pressure of his magic power. Chapter 385. Squeak Squeak. Seeing Lu Kuan in a daze, Xiao Jin could not help but call out to him. At the same time, he waved his monkey paw in front of Lu Kuan's eyes. Lu Kuan came back to his senses. He patted Xiao Jin and comforted him. "My blood vessels just burst. With my physical body's recovery ability, I'll be fine." He sighed and continued, "With your magical powers, you should have sensed the situation in my body just now." Xiao Jin nodded worriedly. "Actually, I know a little about the problem of the blood vessels being weaker, but I didn't pay much attention to it before. It was only after entering the Demon Island that I realized its importance, whether it was running over my strength or using my maximum strength to attack continuously. I thought that after entering the Middle Foundation establishment stage, the mana in the blood would strengthen the blood vessels. Both the blood and the blood vessels would be stronger than before, and my endurance in battle would greatly increase. But I didn't expect that the strength of the blood vessels would be an obstacle to my advancement to the Middle Foundation establishment stage. The toughness of the blood vessels makes it possible to break through. After breaking through, the blood vessels become tougher." Lu Kuan suddenly felt a headache coming on. In order to force the mana into the depths of the bones and reduce the pressure on the blood vessels during the breakthrough just now, I used up a lot of my divine sense. Otherwise, I wouldn't have fainted in the end. Lu Kuan rubbed his temples, trying to relieve the discomfort caused by using up a lot of his divine sense. "I have to force the mana into the bone marrow in one go, but not let it press on the blood vessels in the muscles. My divine sense of the late Foundation establishment stage is far from enough. Damn it, is there no way for me to break through this time? Do I have to wait until the spirit sensing technique is completed?" Lu Kuan was extremely unwilling to give up. No, if a body cultivator needs such a strong divine sense to advance to the Middle Foundation establishment stage, even if I succeed in breaking through, my disciple will also encounter this problem when he reaches this bottleneck. Not every body cultivator can reach this level of divine sense. There must be a solution. Even if it's the worst solution, there must be one. Lu Kuan shook his head and forced himself to calm down. He recalled the process of his breakthrough and carefully pondered over his understanding of body refinement. I almost forgot that a trace of magic power had already seeped into the bone marrow cavity of my forearm. Only then did Lu Kuan recall what had happened during the healing process. He raised his arms and looked at his undamaged forearms. He said curiously, "Logically speaking, a trace of my magic power has already penetrated into the depths of my forearm bones. I should be able to pour in even more now that I've broken through." Could it be that this strand of mana is too little to allow the mana inside and outside of the bone marrow cavity to converge? Lu Kuan began to reminisce. Previously, I used my forearm to block the attacks of the Philosophies and Xiao Hongfei. They broke through my defense, and in the end, the bones in my forearm cracked. After that, when I used the spirit chi and the spirit stones to heal my injuries, I was able to produce a trace of dermic powers in the bone marrow cavity of my forearm. If that's the case, then the cracks in the bones are the key. Lu Kuan hammered his head in frustration. He muttered, "Why didn't I think of this before? As long as there are cracks in the bones, when the mana is suppressed by a huge force, it can definitely penetrate deep into the bones. If the blood vessels are fragile, then if I break the bones, won't the bones be even more fragile than the blood vessels?" Immediately after, Lu Kuan took out the green scimitar that he obtained from the Philosophies. After being stunned for a moment, he helplessly put it away. "This weapon won't do. Not to mention that I can't activate this weapon. Even if I can, I've just finished carving the spirit-controlling formation all over my body. I can't possibly destroy the spirit-controlling formation just to crack my bones. Without the spirit-controlling formation to help me control and suppress the mana, it's still dangerous to break through. The only way to create cracks in the bones, while not destroying the spirit-controlling formation in the fascia, is to use a club or hammer-type weapon to hammer the bones. Then Mai and Xiao Jin's pseudo-magic treasures are the best tools." Lu Kuan carefully sensed all the bones in his body and sighed with emotion. After the previous tempering, the structure of the bones has long been different from that of ordinary people. Apart from a part of the skull and spine, almost all the bones in the other parts of the body have marrow cavities. If I want to break through, I must let my mana enter the depths of all the bones in one go. If I do it several times, it's very likely that these bones will be even stronger, increasing the difficulty of the next breakthrough. Lu Kuan took a deep breath and slowly said to himself, "It seems that I have to crack all the nearly 200 bones in my body in one go. Then, I'll complete the breakthrough in one go." At this point, Lu Kuan's forehead couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. For such a breakthrough, all the bones in the body must be cracked. Even if Lu Kuan's willpower was firm, he still felt a little afraid when he thought of such a scene. In the past, when he broke through the chi refining stage and reached the foundation building stage, he was destroying his muscles. After being cleansed by the Vajra esoteric art, his senses were several times stronger than ordinary cultivators. The pain he felt was also doubled. However, because of his resistance to thunder and lightning, the second lightning strike didn't cause as much pain as the first time. Now that Lu Kuan's soul-sensing technique was much more refined than before, he could even sense the nerves in the body with the power of a cultivator's divine sense. Lu Kuan couldn't imagine how much pain he would feel when all the bones in his body were cracked. Soon, the fear in Lu Kuan's eyes disappeared without a trace. It was replaced by a desire for a new realm and a firm gaze for the path ahead. I, Lu Kuan, created my own body refining technique and reached the foundation building stage. How could I give up the opportunity to break through the bottleneck just because of a little pain? He immediately took out 2 meteoric thunder rods and 2 lightning balls and began to ponder. Although Lu Kuan had figured out the next breakthrough point, it was still a little troublesome to carry it out. If I want to crack the bones that were tempered with mid-level spells, even if my muscles don't defend, I'll need at least the attack power of the Great Circle of Foundation building stage. If I hold the meteoric thunder rods myself, the most I can do is crack the bones in other parts of my body. However, I can't do anything about the parts that my arms can't reach or the bones in my arms. Squeak! Lu Kuan frowned and looked at the little monkey in front of him. He shook his head and said, "Xiao Jin, your strength is only more than 30,000 pounds. Even if you use the wishful meteoric iron rod, it will be very difficult for you to break my bones." Xiao Jin suddenly pointed outside and shouted again. Lu Kuan looked happy and said, "Yes, I can find Dahe. This guy's strength is at least 50,000 pounds. After using his magical power, it will increase a lot. If he uses the wishful meteoric iron rod, it will be just right for him to do this." Then he said worriedly, "I just don't know if this guy can understand what I mean. If he is afraid of attacking me, it will be troublesome. After all, at a close distance, he can feel my bloodline aura more clearly." Xiao Jin immediately stood up, held his head high, and gestured to Lu Kuan. He also patted his chest that didn't look very strong. "That makes sense. You are the most suitable person to explain the situation to Dahe. You and I are connected by blood. You understand what I mean best. Moreover, the magical power of the spirit ear can hear the movements in my body. In addition, you also have the bloodline of the ancient demonic ape." Lu Kuan patted Xiao Jin on the shoulder and said, "After I recover all the injuries on my body and the power of my spiritual sense, I will go find Dahe. However, we still have to change the place of our seclusion. Because if we use this cruel method to break through, with my broken bones, I can only use my spiritual power. My combat power is worse than the average Relling and early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. If there are really several powerful enemies coming, it will be difficult for you and Dahe to resist in the spiritual chi area." After the incident where he was almost killed by the Philosophies and Xiao Hongfei, Lu Kuan became more cautious. In the past, he relied too much on Xiao Jin's magical power. Chapter 386. A few days later, at the edge of the demonic aura area, a burly man stood at the foot of the double-headed mountain peak. Behind him were two apes. One of them was a yellow-haired little monkey that was only as tall as an ordinary person's knee. It was calling out to a black gorilla that was more than 10 feet tall. The little monkey seemed to be explaining something to the black gorilla. The seemingly mighty and majestic black gorilla had a fawning look on its face as it obediently listened to the little monkey's teachings. From time to time, it would let out a whimper in response. They were Lu Kuan, Xiao Jin, and Dahe, who they had brought out. Lu Kuan didn't pay attention to the two beasts chattering behind him. Instead, he rested his chin on one hand and looked at the eastern peak that was filled with spirit chi. Then, he glanced at the western peak that was very close to him. Although the spiritual chi here is just as dense, it is mixed with some demonic aura. It is almost impossible for the disciples of the 10 great sects to come here. I can't rule out the possibility of them coming here with ulterior motives like Tianrenjie. However, this place is very close to the demonic aura area. Even if the disciples of the 10 great sects come here, with Dahe and Xiao Jin, they can definitely bring me into the demonic aura area in time. It is the safest place. With a plan in mind, Lu Kuan took out his green scimitar. Purple light flashed under his feet as he directly leaped towards the small mountain peak. Lu Kuan relied on the explosive power of the thunderous explosion steps to fly in the sky for a short period of time. However, he could not stay in the air. After circling around the eastern peak, he quickly found a suitable place. He used the sharp weapon in his hand to carve out a cave. This time, he set up 2 entrances to the cave. One was the normal entrance, and the other was the escape entrance that faced the demonic aura area in the west. The escape entrance was very hidden. Then, Lu Kuan called for Xiao Jin and Dahe to enter the cave. He cautiously set up all the defensive arrays from the Philosophies and Tianrenjie. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. Lu Kuan said somewhat self-deprecatingly, "Once bitten, twice shy. It seems that I was quite frightened by the previous sneak attack." Then he turned around and looked at Dahe and Xiao Jin, who had already ended their conversation. He said uncertainly, "Xiao Jin, you've already explained everything to Dahe, right?" Xiao Jin nodded, and Dahe also nodded vigorously, indicating that he knew what he had to do. When Lu Kuan saw this, a spiritual light flashed in his hand and 3 earth-yellow talismans appeared. He threw it into the open space in front of him. With a flash of yellow light, the open space changed from ordinary mountain rocks to dense and solid rocks. With the help of the 3 advanced intermediate fossilization spells, this place has become much sturdier. It won't sink so easily. After that, Lu Kuan took a deep breath and slowly laid down on the seemingly solid ground, spreading his body out in the shape of the Chinese character. A fiery light flashed in his eyes, and he said in a deep voice, "Shao Jin, transform the wishful meteoric iron staff and throw it to Dahe. Then we'll start." Shao Jin also looked serious. He took out the pair of wishful meteoric iron staff from his back, put them together, and urged his demon spiritual power to make them bigger. Then, he threw them to Dahe. Dahe excitedly caught the huge staff in his hand, but then he looked at Lu Kuan lying on the ground and hesitated. "Dahe, you don't have to think about anything else. Just listen to my instructions. Ho ho ho. First, use most of your strength to hit the bones of my feet." Dahe obeyed Lu Kuan's instructions. Without thinking about anything else, he controlled his strength and smashed the staff toward Lu Kuan's right foot. Dong! Immediately there was a muffled sound, but Lu Kuan's right foot did not have any other changes. Lu Kuan felt Dahe's attack power and commanded in a steady voice, "Dahe, now use all your strength and hammer 3 times in a row." Dong! Dong! Ka! When Dahe hammered the 3rd time, he immediately heard a cracking sound. He could not help but tremble in his heart. He secretly glanced at Lu Kuan's right foot and found that its shape had changed slightly. The skin on the outside of his foot was bleeding. Lu Kuan's face was slightly pale. He said, "Very good. Continue with the other foot. Use the same strength." Dong! Dong! Ka! Okay, next is the right calf bone. Use all your strength and aim at the place closest to the right foot 5 times. Then, hit the place close to the knee 5 times. Lu Kuan listened to the hammering sound in his ears. While he endured the piercing pain, he also accurately estimated how many hammering sounds his bones would need to receive before they cracked. Soon, Lu Kuan's bones below the knee were cracked. Next was his thigh bone. Under his control, the muscles of his leg were directly relaxed and did not seem to have much defensive power. As early as when Lu Kuan cultivated the Vajra esoteric art, his muscles were already like a certain part of a man's body. They could be as soft as cotton or as hard as iron. Now, under the control of his muscles and nerves, the thigh muscles had almost no defensive power. However, Dahe smashed this thigh bone and hammered it 10 times with all his strength. Just after this leg was completed, Lu Kuan suddenly exclaimed softly. Then, his expression changed and he immediately shouted, "Dahe, speed up and activate your special ability. Hit the other thigh 6 times with all your strength. Hurry!" Although Dahe had heard Shao Jin's explanation that this was Lu Kuan's method of breaking through, he was still hesitant when he acted. He had enough strength, but his speed was very slow. At this moment, when he suddenly heard Lu Kuan say to speed up and activate his special ability, Dahe was immediately stunned. Shao Jin also felt something at this moment. He squeaked loudly and urged Dahe to hurry up. The chimpanzee revealed a very conflicted expression, but he still obeyed the order. His fists suddenly expanded more than twice their original size. He roared to encourage himself and smashed at Lu Kuan's other thigh. Lu Kuan's face turned pale. However, when he felt the speed of his bones shattering increase, he breathed a sigh of relief. He endured the more intense pain and continued to command Dahe's movements. The reason why Lu Kuan asked Dahe to speed up was because the damaged bones, even if he did not activate his mana to repair them, the thunder attribute mana hidden in the bones would automatically repair them. At this moment, he did not want to waste too much of his consciousness to control his mana. Therefore, he could only speed up the speed of his bones shattering. If he continued at the previous speed, by the time Dahe finished hammering, most of the bones in his leg would have recovered. Next, extremely dull hammering sounds and the sound of bones shattering came from the cave. From time to time, it was accompanied by Lu Kuan's increasingly trembling command. If ordinary people saw the scene in the cave, they would definitely be terrified. Breaking all the bones in the body was a torture. For the sensitive Lu Kuan, it was more than 10 times more painful than torture. In this way, 2 hours passed. Dahe had already thrown the wishful meteoric iron staff aside. Its body trembled slightly. It had exhausted too much of its strength and was also frightened by Lu Kuan's terrible behavior. Cold sweat broke out on the monkey's face and its eyes were full of horror. Xiao Jin stood aside with a slightly pale face. He clenched his fists and looked at the middle of the cave with a worried expression. At this time, Lu Kuan was covered in blood. His limbs were limp on the ground in the middle of the cave, motionless. The ground under his body, which was originally reinforced by the fossilization technique, was not only stained red with blood, but also sunk several inches. Suddenly, the surrounding spiritual energy seemed to be attracted by something and rushed towards Lu Kuan at a very fast speed. The thunder seal on his arms also bloomed with a dazzling light. Chapter 387. At this moment, Lu Kuan was in extreme pain. His powerful senses amplified the pain in his body by dozens of times and transmitted it to his brain. The bones in his limbs were in a state of shattering, and he couldn't move his body. He couldn't even change his posture to reduce this torture. However, Lu Kuan didn't think about alleviating or restraining this pain. He clenched his teeth and forced himself to ignore this pain. Every second he wasted to resist the pain, the bones in his legs that were shattered earlier would repair themselves, increasing the difficulty of his breakthrough. Ah! Lu Kuan screamed crazily in his heart. In addition to the Relingan's role, he also mobilized part of his spiritual sense to operate the spirit-controlling formation and quickly absorb the extremely rich spiritual energy around him. The turbulent spiritual energy of the Demon Island, under the combined efforts of the Relingan and the 6 spirit-controlling formations on his 2 arms, was like an invisible spiritual energy vortex that surged towards the 2 thunder seals on his arms. Then, through these thunder seals, it was transformed into pure thunder attribute spiritual energy that entered his body. As the new thunder attribute spiritual energy was produced, Lu Kuan separated a part of his spiritual sense and spread it towards the spirit-controlling formations in other parts of his body. Then, these spirit-controlling formations that Lu Kuan painstakingly engraved on his body were like invisible hands that slowly mobilized the new thunder attribute spiritual energy into the depths of his muscles. In order to produce a spurt of energy effect, Lu Kuan didn't force the spiritual energy into his broken bones from the beginning. Instead, he temporarily relied on his late-stage foundation establishment spiritual sense to control the spiritual energy between his muscles and bones. He didn't dare to rush the spiritual energy into his bones temporarily, because if there was a high density of spiritual energy in his bones, then the cracks in his bones would heal even faster. At the same time, Lu Kuan laid out a faint layer of defensive thunder shield inside his torso and all his internal organs. Although there was no powerful energy to temper his bones now, it would be troublesome if his bones were to be damaged by the impact of the spiritual energy. Moreover, with this layer of defensive thunder shield protecting part of his bones, Lu Kuan was even more at ease in suppressing his transcendence energy. For example, when he used the humanoid thunderfall technique on his opponent, the difference between being in the air and being on the ground was the same. It was obvious that the latter would receive more damage. When Lu Kuan crushed the bones, he did not use any of his Fa-Li or spiritual sense. After the bones were crushed, the Fa-Li in his body was almost full. This won't do. I need to accumulate more magic power. I'll use my divine sense to isolate the broken bones from the magic power outside. When the blood vessels in my muscles feel an extremely strong pressure, I will suddenly convert the power of the divine sense into an inward pressure. After coming up with a countermeasure, Lu Kuan acted according to his plan. He used his divine sense to control the spirit controlling formation to form a hindrance, creating an invisible barrier around the shattered bones in his body. The gradually increasing magic power was tightly controlled by this invisible force outside of his bones. At the same time, the extremely rich spirit energy of the Demon Island was absorbed by Lu Kuan's Relingen, and the conversion speed of the Thunder Attribute magic power suddenly slowed down. Xiao Jin felt the changes in the nearby spirit energy and began to feel nervous. Ever since he gave the only choice of listening to the cultivation method to Lu Kuan, he was aware of the details of Lu Kuan's every breakthrough. Half a day passed like this. Dahe. Cough cough. Hurry. Lu Kuan suddenly opened his mouth and roared in a hoarse voice. However, halfway through his words, he spat out a mouthful of blood. He could no longer speak because his divine sense was operating the spirit controlling formation at this time. All the nerves in his body were also resisting the pain that was magnified dozens of times. When he opened his mouth at this time, he suddenly lost some kind of balance. Even his divine sense trembled, and the magic power in his body almost rushed into his bones. Therefore, Lu Kuan could only close his mouth again and return to his previous state, but he took a deep look at Xiao Jin. The little monkey suddenly understood after a little sensing. Squeak squeak. Squeak squeak. The little monkey was extremely nervous and quickly reassembled the wishful meteorite iron staff under Dahe's feet. Dahe felt Xiao Jin's anxiety this time. Without saying a word, he grabbed the thick giant staff, activated his magical power, and smashed it again at Lu Kuan's right foot. Dang! This time, there was a sound of a golden drum, which made Dahe stunned. Squeak squeak. Xiao Jin continued to scream anxiously. Roar. Dahe seemed to be cheering for himself. He grabbed the giant staff and crazily smashed it at Lu Kuan's right foot, which had greatly increased its defense. Dang dang dang. Bang bang bang. Crack. This time, Dahe actually used 7 attacks to break the bones of Lu Kuan's right foot. It could be seen how strong Lu Kuan's defense was when his body was stimulated with magic power. Squeak squeak. Xiao Jin quickly roared at the somewhat shocked Dahe. Dahe quivered. In an instant, all the demonic aura in his body was stimulated and injected into his hand. Then, his hands, which had swelled up a little, continued to smash the giant staff at other parts of Lu Kuan's body. Roar, roar, squeak squeak. Dahe had almost exhausted all of his demonic spiritual energy and physical strength. After spending less than an hour, he once again broke Lu Kuan's bones that were about to heal. Fortunately, Xiao Jin was able to accurately sense the condition of Lu Kuan's body. He clearly knew that Lu Kuan's magic power was extremely abundant and his muscles were in a defensive state. If his bones were to heal, Dahe's demonic spiritual energy and physical strength wouldn't be able to break them again. Therefore, in a situation where Lu Kuan's bones were not completely healed, Dahe quickly bombarded once to ensure that Lu Kuan's bones were in a shattered state. Although Lu Kuan once again received a painful baptism, he heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Previously, he let Dahe do it because he was afraid that when he was breaking through the bottleneck, the healing bones would increase the resistance. Gradually, his magic power had reached an extremely high density. Under the pressure of this density, the pressure in his blood vessels began to appear again. This time, Lu Kuan didn't need to spend 5 days to absorb the new magic power. After the previous failure, he clearly knew the limit of the magic power he needed. After nearly a day's time, the magic power he had accumulated was completely enough. Now's the time. Charge for me. Lu Kuan felt the situation in his body and screamed crazily in his heart. The liquid magic power that was blocked outside the bones was like a flash flood, rushing into the bones. At this moment, the resistance of the spirit-controlling array immediately became a driving force. At the same time, Lu Kuan seemed to hear the sound of a membrane in his body being broken. The surging magic power, under his careful arrangement, directly rushed into the bone marrow cavity. Suddenly, Lu Kuan's body trembled. He immediately felt a tingling sensation in all of his bones, as if countless flying needles were pricking his nerves. That kind of sour, cold, tingling sensation. Roar. Chapter 388. Xiao Jin and Dahe, who were outside, did not seem to have heard anything. However, after Lu Kuan's transcendence energy rushed into their bone marrow cavities, they suddenly felt something and turned to look towards the west. The two apes revealed an incredulous expression. If there were immortal cultivators outside this double-headed mountain, they would discover that the demonic aura on the western demonic aura mountain seemed to have been stimulated by something. In an instant, it squeezed out the rich spiritual energy of the eastern mountain peak and turned into a long river of demonic aura, rushing towards the eastern mountain peak where Lu Kuan was cultivating in seclusion. Then, under the dull gazes of the two demonic beasts, the demonic aura was like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey, fiercely drilling into Lu Kuan's body. At this moment, all of Lu Kuan's nerves were filled with a tingling and numbing sensation in his bone marrow cavity. His divine sense was also somewhat muddled by the roar from his soul. He could not feel the invasion of the demonic aura at all, and the demonic aura that had entered his body seemed to have a purpose. It entered the bone marrow cavity without any hindrance through the crack in the bone that Lu Kuan had broken through previously. Then it disappeared into the bone marrow cavity. Xiao Jin, who sensed this from outside, was dumbstruck, as if he had become stupid. He could understand the situation when Lu Kuan broke through the bottleneck previously, but the current scene was beyond his understanding. Even if Lu Kuan used the demon luring technique, it was impossible to attract the demonic aura through the rich spiritual energy. One had to know that there was a repulsion between spiritual energy and demonic aura. Even with Xiao Jin's bloodline, he could not guarantee that he could absorb the demonic aura on the other side here. And what stunned Xiao Jin the most was that when the demonic aura entered Lu Kuan's body, it was neither stored nor turned into other energy. It completely disappeared without a trace. This was completely beyond his understanding. Then, under the numb gazes of Xiao Jin and Dahe, this scene lasted for a full day and night before it disappeared. It was fortunate that Lu Kuan had chosen this place, which was originally a mixture of spiritual energy and demonic aura. After such a long time, no immortal cultivators had discovered this strange phenomenon. And after this strange phenomenon disappeared, Lu Kuan's soul gradually became more awake. It was as if this day and night to him was just a moment. But he had indeed heard this roar, and he was very familiar with this sound. It was the roar when he refined the blood marrow powder and the pseudo-magic treasure was formed. This was the strange phenomenon produced when the blood essence of the golden giant ape was successfully refined. Could it be that my mana rushed into my bone marrow cavity mean that I refined blood? Into the bone marrow cavity, to fill it, to fill it, to fill it, to fill his bone marrow cavity, to fill to the bone marrow cavity, to fill up his bone marrow cavity, to fill his bone marrow cavity, to fill it. Previously, when he broke through the diaphragm outside the bone marrow cavity, it was as if he had opened up a gap. The magic power in his bones entered the bone marrow cavity without any obstruction. After 3 days, with the help of the rich spiritual energy in the surroundings, all the bone marrow cavities in his body were filled to the brim with mana, and the aura that Lu Kuan exuded was even stronger. From the outside, Xiao Jin could sense that he had completely reached the mid-foundation establishment stage. Lu Kuan naturally felt this too, and his heart relaxed. This meant that he had indeed broken through to the early foundation establishment stage. However, he did not stop his cultivation, and instead continued to circulate his lightning-type mana. Although after the breakthrough, the bone scars in his body had been healed, but he had not reached his strongest state. Therefore, in the following time, Lu Kuan, on one hand, had to heal all his injuries, and on the other hand, he had to truly refine his blood. It should be known that an ordinary person would take about 20 days to change the blood in his body, but for an immortal cultivator with a strong physical body like Lu Kuan, the time would be much shorter, about 3 to 5 days. Although Lu Kuan had reached the mid-foundation establishment stage, according to Lu Kuan's understanding of body cultivation, his current state had not stabilized, because the blood in his body was still at the early foundation establishment stage. He had previously speculated that after the bone marrow cavity was filled with mana, the newly produced blood should also carry mana. After circulating his cultivation for about half a day, Lu Kuan's internal injuries were completely healed, because this time, the injuries were only to his muscles and bones, and these parts with mana were damaged. Under the protection of his defensive thunder shield, his internal organs were intact, so the healing was very fast. Previously, when he was attacked by the Philostikis, his internal organs were shaken, and could only rely on spiritual energy to nourish them, so the healing time was longer. Moreover, in this half a day, Lu Kuan's blood gradually changed, and some mana aura appeared. After the blood was produced, it first flowed out through the veins in the depths of the bones, and gradually spread to the whole body. With the help of this blood that carried mana, Lu Kuan's recovery ability was further strengthened. During this half a day, Xiao Jin, who was outside, had a different feeling. In addition to being able to sense the situation in Lu Kuan's body, it could also distinguish the changes in Lu Kuan's mana from outside. The little monkey could clearly feel that the mana in Lu Kuan's body had increased by a lot, and was completely unlike a cultivator who had just entered the mid-foundation establishment stage. In the next few days, not only Xiao Jin, but even the somewhat slow Dahe could feel that the mana aura in Lu Kuan's body was getting thicker and thicker. It was not until the 5th day that the somewhat numb Dahe felt that the rapid increase in mana had stopped. The chimpanzee felt this obvious increase in mana, and the corner of its mouth could not help but twitch. The Dahe had a strong talent. When it was at the level of a level 3 demonic beast, it would take at least half a year to increase this amount of mana, even with the help of the demonic aura on the demon island. However, Lu Kuan completed it in 5 days. Other than being a little surprised on the first day, Xiao Jin's monkey face was immersed in thought for the next few days. It had discovered the source of Lu Kuan's mana becoming thicker. It was the blood in Lu Kuan's body. This new increase in mana was completely the extra part of his blood. Just when Xiao Jin thought that Lu Kuan had completed the breakthrough and was about to end it, it suddenly sensed that the surrounding spirit energy continued to flow into Lu Kuan's body, and the mana in his blood continued to increase. The little monkey remembered that Lu Kuan had told it that his body cultivator's blood would be changed every 5 days, and the change would end at this time. Why was his mana still increasing? Could it be related to the strange disappearance of the demonic aura previously? Such a thought could not help but appear in Xiao Jin's mind. The second 5 days. The third 5 days. It was the 9th 5 days. After a total of 45 days and 9 rounds of blood replacement, Lu Kuan finally stopped absorbing spirit energy. And at this time, the mana in his body had already reached the peak of the mid-foundation establishment stage in the eyes of the 2 demonic beasts. The mana in Lu Kuan's muscles was transformed from spirit energy and purified by the thunder strike. It was very pure, so the mana aura that it emitted was not weaker than any late foundation establishment stage cultivator. Lu Kuan opened his eyes, and a hint of an excited smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He looked at Xiao Jin and Dahe in front of him, and a fierce qi and blood power was stimulated from his body. Chapter 389. At this moment, Lu Kuan could clearly feel the abundant qi and blood in his body. It was as if he was in a dream compared to the peak of the mid-stage foundation establishment realm. He could not believe the changes that had taken place during the past 2 months. More than 40 days ago, after he finished healing, he tried to observe the situation of the new blood in his bone marrow. Only then did he realize that the bone marrow in the depths of his bones had turned golden. Previously, the bone marrow that could produce blood was red, and the bone marrow that could not produce blood was yellow. However, when Lu Kuan broke through the bottleneck, he did not know what happened in his body. Not only did his red bone marrow, which could produce blood, but even his yellow bone marrow, which could not produce blood before, had turned golden. Golden bone marrow? Why did it change color and produce blood? Lu Kuan, who could not figure out the reason, could only continue to circulate the qi in his bone marrow cavity, trying to accelerate the production of blood and complete the blood exchange process. During this blood exchange process, the qi and blood in his blood began to slowly increase. Lu Kuan realized that to produce one portion of qi and blood in his body, his bone marrow cavity needed to consume 9 portions of qi and blood. In other words, the conversion ratio of qi and blood was 9:1. In other words, the golden bone marrow needed to absorb 9 portions of qi and blood in order to produce 1 portion of qi and blood with qi. This conversion ratio was too low. Lu Kuan could only keep this doubt in his heart. Fortunately, the spirit energy on Demon Island was many times denser than the outside world. Even if the conversion ratio was a little high, it was not a problem. After 5 days, which was the first round of blood exchange, Lu Kuan began to feel that something was wrong. In these 5 days, his qi and blood had increased a little. When he had just entered the early stage of the Foundation establishment realm, his bones could only hold a little qi and blood because they had not been tempered. According to his speculation, the mid-stage Foundation establishment realm of body cultivators should also have such a limit. The qi and blood could only hold a limited amount of qi and blood at the beginning. However, in the past 5 days, Lu Kuan did not encounter the limit of qi and blood capacity. Therefore, he wanted to find this limit. As a result, he kept cultivating, and the blood in his body was exchanged again and again. The qi and blood in his blood only reached a limit after the 9th round. At this moment, Lu Kuan realized that all of his physical mana had reached the peak of the Foundation establishment stage. He was pleasantly surprised. What surprised him was the strange phenomenon between his bone marrow and blood magic. He was happy that he was able to reach the peak of the middle stage of Foundation establishment in such a short time, saving him a lot of time. This way, he would have more time to study the core formation method of body cultivation. Lu Kuan couldn't believe it, so he immediately activated all the qi and blood in his body. As expected, that massive amount of qi and blood shocked even himself. Even Martial Uncle Sue's grade 5 silver-spotted leopard didn't seem to have as much qi and blood as he did. After pondering for a long time, Lu Kuan realized that Dahe was prostrating on the ground and looking at him with even more reverence. His expression changed as he said, "Dahe, you can sense the strengthening of my bloodline power?" Dahe immediately started sobbing. She was so emotional that tears were flowing down her cheeks. Squeak, squeak. Xiao Jin quickly translated for Dahe. Lu Kuan looked thoughtful. As expected. Could it be that because I entered the middle stage of Foundation establishment, which is the blood-refining stage of body cultivation, the giant golden ape's bloodline has become stronger? This time, Dahe can sense some of its ancestors' aura. It seems that the giant golden ape is really an ancient demon beast with immeasurable strength, and Dahe's Black Mountain Ape tribe is a side branch of the giant golden ape's bloodline. Ho ho ho! Dahe started crying emotionally again. Squeak! Lu Kuan nodded and said, "Okay, after we leave the Demon Island, I will definitely pay a visit to your Black Mountain Ape tribe. I do have some questions to ask the elders of your tribe." At this moment, Xiao Jin suddenly thought of something. She started dancing in front of Lu Kuan. She was very emotional. Lu Kuan heard this and his expression changed. What did you say? When my transcendence energy rushed into my bone marrow cavity, the demon aura of the West Peak was attracted to me and entered my body. Squeak, squeak. The little monkey nodded continuously. At the same time, she used her hands to gesture. You said that I absorbed the demon aura for an entire day and night? Lu Kuan heard Xiao Jin's words and immediately fell into deep thought. The time that Xiao Jin said that the demon aura was attracted, wasn't it when I heard the roar of the giant golden ape? Xiao Jin also said that the demon aura disappeared after entering my bone marrow cavity. Could it be that I suddenly reached the peak of the middle stage of foundation establishment? Was it all caused by the bloodline of the giant golden ape? Thinking of this, Lu Kuan could not help but recall that many years ago, when he was cultivating the Vajra Esoterica, he was trapped in a formation by old Devil Murong to cultivate. The fourth level of the Vajra Esoterica was to use spirit energy to refine the marrow and cultivate the blood. At that time, it was most likely because of my bloodline that I quickly completed the cultivation of this realm. Now I am using my transcendence energy to refine the marrow and improve the blood from its root. Similarly, I entered the stage of great success in this realm in a short time. If that's the case, it can only be explained by the bloodline of the giant golden ape. After all, it is the bloodline of the demonic ape. It is not surprising that it absorbed the demon aura. As for the demon aura disappearing after entering my bone marrow, it should be because of my bone marrow. My bone marrow turned golden. It is very likely caused by the demon aura. Since it is because of the bloodline of the giant golden ape, then it should be the same as the breakthrough of the Vajra Esoterica. There should be no aftereffects. As for the many problems of the middle stage of foundation establishment and the realm of blood, when Qing Tian and the others reach this realm, I will carefully study them. Xiao Jin is a demonic beast. Its situation when it reaches the third level of demonic beast is definitely different from that of a body cultivator. Lu Kuan thought for a while and concluded that the reason for his strange ascension to the peak of the middle stage of foundation establishment was due to the bloodline of the giant golden ape. As for the normal body cultivator, he had to consider whether the bone marrow would change color, the ratio of the transcendence energy in the bone marrow cavity to the transcendence energy in the blood, and the periodicity of the blood exchange. He planned to observe and study it carefully when Zhao Qingtian and the other disciples advanced. His situation was that he skipped the middle stage of foundation establishment. The lack of experience in the process of body cultivator would have an impact on the later stages of his cultivation. Lu Kuan stopped thinking. He looked at the little monkey and said, "Xiao Jin, the demon aura was attracted to me. It is very likely that it is because of my bloodline. You don't have to worry about this part. Remember the rest of the process of breaking through the bottleneck." Xiao Jin nodded vigorously. Then, Lu Kuan took out a new robe from his storage bag and put it on. He looked at the firm ground under his feet that was still pressed down. He clenched his right fist and punched downward. Bang! He saw 3 middle-level advanced stonification spell talismans. The reinforced stone shattered, and even the cave that Lu Kuan had dug at the last minute trembled a little. Lu Kuan sensed carefully and murmured, "My physical strength has increased by a lot. It seems to be around 70,000 to 25,000 kilograms. It is about the same as what I predicted. This realm will not increase one's strength by much, but it will increase one's physical endurance and endurance for high-intensity attacks." Chapter 390. Lu Kuan then retracted all the defensive arrays in the cave and said to Xiao Jin and Dahe, "You two go back to the demonic aura area first. Dahe has the wishful meteoric iron staff and is stronger than the sea bear. There won't be any danger. I still have to test the changes after the breakthrough. After that, I will go directly to Dahe." Lu Kuan showed a bright smile to the 2 monster apes. Then, a turbulent electric light appeared under his feet. He disappeared from the spot and appeared outside the cave. Accompanied by the sound of thunder, Lu Kuan's figure quickly disappeared from the eyes of the two apes. Xiao Jin felt the excitement in Lu Kuan's heart and secretly clenched its fist. It placed the wishful meteoric iron staff on the ground on its back and quickly jumped onto Dahei's shoulder, urging the seemingly smart chimpanzee to walk toward the demonic aura area. After witnessing Lu Kuan's successful breakthrough, Xiao Jin was eager to improve its strength. Only in this area where the demonic aura was abundant could it make rapid progress. Otherwise, if it was left behind by Lu Kuan, it might not be able to help in the future battle. Not to mention Xiao Jin's desire for a breakthrough, Lu Kuan was running the thunder-controlling flying technique with all his strength at this time. He was running rapidly on the plains outside the Demon Spirit Mountains. His speed was much faster than when he was escaping the Spirit Dissension platform. Soon, under the speed of the Great Circle of Foundation establishment, Lu Kuan ran for more than 10 miles. Then, he slowly stopped. He panted slightly and analyzed. After running for 10 miles, my blood vessels only felt a little pressure. With the help of the blood full of mana, my physical running technique is smoother. According to the current estimation, at this speed, I can continue to run for at least 20 to 30 miles. This is only the 45th day since my blood began to circulate. As the blood circulates in the body longer, the strength of my blood vessels will only become stronger and stronger. According to my speculation, except for the blood vessels, the organs in the body will slowly be improved by this blood full of mana. The organs are more fragile. There is no way to temper them with powerful spells like the muscles and bones before. I can only use the blood through mana, which is the longest time. When the organs are slowly tempered to be able to accommodate mana, I will smoothly enter the late stage of Foundation establishment. Although the breakthrough of the middle stage was difficult, the late stage of Foundation establishment can be achieved with time. In that case, before I reach the late Foundation establishment stage, I need to study body cultivation and core formation. Next, I need to focus on cultivating the soul sensing technique. If I can master the soul sensing technique and combine it with my divine sense, I'll most likely be able to reach the core formation stage in the Foundation establishment stage, just like Xiao Hongfei and Master Nye. After thinking about the next steps of cultivation, Lu Kuan looked at the sky and laughed. Since my physical endurance has increased, let's see how long I can fly in the sky. Now that the Thunder Attribute mana has more than doubled, the explosive power of Thunder Attribute spells will be very strong. Moreover, my mana will be able to last longer. While he was thinking, Lu Kuan's blood mana had already calmed down some of the discomfort caused by the long-distance running. An even more dazzling purple lightning burst out from under his feet. His whole body shot into the sky like a core formation stage cultivator. After flying to a height of about 1,000 feet, Lu Kuan changed his direction slightly. Lightning flashed on his legs, and he flew in a random direction. Haha, let's call this the Imperial Thunder Escape Technique. At the same time, on a plain of the Demon Island, a green flying boat was flying quickly in the air. On it were two figures, a man and a woman. The man's face was pale and blood was flowing from the corner of his mouth. He seemed to be seriously injured, but his eyes were calm. The other woman had a sweet appearance. Although she didn't say a word, her worried and frightened eyes betrayed her inner unease. If Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu were here, they would have discovered that these two were the tool refinement masters who exchanged the demon devil tokens with them, Ding Yifeng and Song Ping. Not far behind them, there were two flying boats, one red and one black. They were much faster than the green flying boat. It wouldn't take long for them to catch up to Ding Yifeng and Song Ping. Song Ping gnashed her teeth and said, "Senior Marshal Brother, the disciples of the Scorching Sun sect and the Ghost Spirit sect have gone too far. This demon island doesn't belong to them. Why are they chasing after us?" Isn't it better for them to cultivate? After a moment of silence, Yue Feng said, I made a mistake. I thought that we would be able to resist the ordinary disciples of the two sects with our pseudo-magic treasures. I didn't expect that even ordinary peak foundation establishment cultivators of the 10 great sects would be able to use their pseudo-magic treasures to injure us after activating their secret technique. They chased us for so long because they took a fancy to our pseudo-magic treasures. Not good. They're attacking us. Suddenly, Yue Feng's expression greatly changed. He urged his magic power to push the azure flying boat downward. At the same time, an arrow made of black and red flames flashed past the boat's original position. From the power it emitted, it was undoubtedly a peak mid-grade magic technique. Damn it! It's the scorching sun arrow. They're actually able to use their pseudo-magic treasures. Yue Feng kept changing the direction of the flying boat as flaming arrows appeared one after another behind him, attacking the flying boat of the two of them. After all, this male cultivator with decent tool refinement techniques was injured and his spiritual sense was only average. After dodging 5 or 6 times, the flying boat was hit by a flame arrow. Even if Yue Feng's flying boat was superior, it was unable to continue flying after being hit by a peak mid-grade magic technique. His eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. When the flying boat was destroyed, he jumped out with Song Ping and took out 2 light body talismans. At this time, they were 30 meters above the ground. The light body talismans were more than enough to allow them to land safely. But at this time, a pitch-black ghost claw appeared above the two of them. It was right at the moment when Yue Feng and Song Ping jumped out and activated the light body talismans. Ghost Spirit Claw. Song Ping who was being pulled by Yue Feng, immediately noticed the ghost claw. She clenched her teeth and suddenly burned her Great Circle Foundation establishment-level magic power. She summoned a green brocade handkerchief and blocked in front of the two of them. And Yue Feng activated the talisman? After that, they only had time to raise their magic power barrier. Bang! The two of them, along with their barrier and defensive magic tools, were caught by the ghost claw. At this moment, all kinds of ghosts and monsters appeared in their minds. The power of their spiritual sense was somewhat scattered, causing their magic power barrier to dim a little. At this time, 2 flame arrows passed through the gap between the ghost claw and bombarded the two of them's defensive barrier and magic tool. Boom! At this critical moment, a red dot suddenly appeared on Song Ping azure brocade handkerchief. Then, the brocade handkerchief exploded, creating a gap in the ghost claw. Inside the ghost claw, the two of them recovered their spiritual sense. Borrowing the impact of the explosion, they passed through the gap and crashed to the ground. Yue Feng and the others' magical power shield had already been shattered. Although they managed to preserve their lives, the shield had already been broken. They had been forcefully smashed to the ground from a height of more than 10 feet. Their bodies had already suffered considerable damage, and this was still under the condition that they had the light body technique. Chapter 391. 2 red-robed middle-aged men disembarked from the flying ship. One of them had short hair and the other was bald. Their robes were engraved with the symbol of the sun. This was the symbol of the Scorching Sun sect, the third of the 10 great sections. An exquisite longbow floated in front of the 2 Scorching Sun sect cultivators. The bow and arrow were engraved with countless complex patterns and emitted a scorching aura that caused the surrounding air to distort. Their faces were slightly sweaty, but their expressions were filled with excitement. Senior Martial Brother Ouyang's pseudo-magic treasure is truly powerful. Even with the secret technique he taught us, we can still use it for such a long time. It only consumes a bit of magic power. The short-haired, red-robed man sighed with emotion. Another bald man chuckled and said, "This ardent sun bow of eldest senior brother was refined by a nascent soul stage elder in the sect for him. We are still unable to unleash its full power, but even so, we can still easily injure the enemy. Soon after, the bald man turned to look at the man and woman who had just disembarked from the black flying ship. However, the ghost spirit sex fellow Taoist's ghost spirit claw is truly astonishing. Not only is it fast, but it also has the ability to conceal itself. Although their strength is only average, they are at the peak of foundation establishment. In both battles, the ghost spirit claw was able to accurately control them. The ghost spirit sect cultivator appeared to be very young. He had small eyes and thick eyebrows. There was a faint shadow between his eyebrows. The other was a tall, slender, and beautiful woman. At that moment, light flashed from the ghost spirit sect cultivator's hand and a gray bone claw floated over. It was about the size of an ordinary person's palm and had a storage pouch hooked onto it. The short-haired man's expression changed. I didn't expect fellow Taoist Faye's control over this pseudo-magic treasure would be so strong. You even took advantage of the opportunity to snatch the opponent's storage pouch. The ghost spirit sect cultivator surnamed Faye grabbed the storage pouch and chuckled. Your sect's scorching sun bow possesses astonishing offensive power. If my sect's ghost spirit claw didn't have some achievements in other areas, how could we compete with the scorching sun sect? The other woman from the ghost spirit sect had a calm expression as she silently looked at them without saying a word. The bald man looked at Yui Feng and his junior sister, who were lying on the ground and looking at them with hatred. He said, "These two people were injured before. Now that they were injured by our two pseudo-magic treasures, their injuries have worsened. They no longer have the strength to fight back. Fellow Taoist Faye, why don't you take out the items in this storage pouch and take a look? Since we've joined forces to chase after them, it's only natural that we divide the spoils fairly." The bald man then glanced at the bald man and glanced at the woman beside the bald man's ghost spirit claw. After pondering for a moment, he said, "All right, although these two rogue cultivators seem to have a high net worth, we don't have to fight to the death with these two fellow Taoists. Faye's Lee's S's SSS." Not far away, Dingy Feng and Song Ping could only watch as their four opponents wantonly searched through their storage pouches. Because of their previous battle, they no longer had the strength to use their pseudo-magic treasures. Adding on the fact that they had just been attacked by their enemies, their injuries had worsened. Falling from the sky had caused them to be unable to move. In order to control their injuries, they couldn't even speak. Could it be that these two are tool refinement masters? This storage pouch is filled with all sorts of tool refinement materials. The bald man's eyes brightened as he looked at the materials in the storage pouch. His expression became even more greedy. Since the ghost spirit claw had only grabbed one storage pouch, it was clear that the other storage pouches were filled with various magic tools. In addition, there were also two pseudo-magic treasures. The Scorching Sun Bow and the Ghost Spirit Claw were both borrowed from their sect's senior martial brother. They didn't have any pseudo-magic treasures themselves. To them, pseudo-magic treasures were extremely attractive. Even if they advanced to the core formation realm on this demon island, they would still be far from obtaining core formation realm Dharma treasures. Generally, cultivators who had just advanced to the core formation realm would first obtain a pseudo-magic treasure as a companion to ensure their strength. For core formation realm cultivators, pseudo-magic treasures were inferior to Dharma treasures, but they could already unleash part of the strength of a core formation realm cultivator. What's that? Just as the bald man was looking at his opponents greedily, the woman who had been silent at the side suddenly spoke with a clear and bright voice. A fiery red token floated out of the pile of materials on the ground and floated up, rotating slightly. Upon hearing the woman's words, they looked over. They realized that it was a sect token with the words Yang Clan engraved on the front and Weapon Refinement Peak engraved on the back. Yang Clan? Yang Clan's Weapon Refinement Peak disciples. The immortal cultivation sect that was destroyed by the miraculous gate and is famous for their weapon refinement techniques? After clearly seeing the words on the token, they all revealed an expression of great joy. As elite disciples of the 10 great sects of the state of Chu, they were naturally aware of what had happened in the cultivation world of the state of Wei. The Yang clan had been completely destroyed, and even the fate of their nascent soul cultivators was unknown. However, it was said that a few Foundation establishment disciples had escaped with the treasures of the clan. Could it be the 2 in front of them? When the 4 saw the bag of refinement materials, they immediately became more convinced of this conjecture, and revealed a scorching and vigilant expression. The 2 Scorching Sun sect cultivators calmly took 2 steps back, and the Scorching Sun bow in front of them slowly ignited with flames. As for the Ghost Spirit sect disciples' Ghost Spirit Claw, it also floated up and emitted a faint gray radiance. When the silent woman saw this scene, the corner of her mouth revealed a trace of a playful smile. Just a moment ago, the cultivators of the 2 sects were very friendly and had planned to divide the spoils equally. Now that they discovered that the storage bag was likely to contain the treasures of the Yang clan, they immediately became hostile. At that moment, the sound of a thunderclap suddenly came from afar, causing them to involuntarily look up. What's that? In the distant sky, there was a streak of purple light that resembled plasma. It was extremely fast, and was even faster than a flying magic tool used by a Peak Foundation establishment cultivator. Furthermore, the 4 could faintly make out the silhouette of a man within the streak of lightning. Just as their expressions grew increasingly tense, the streak of lightning had already passed over their heads and flew off into the distance. They glanced at each other and sighed in relief. They clearly saw that the man within the streak of light didn't use any flying magic tools, and was completely flying through the air. On the Demon Devil Island, there were only Foundation establishment cultivators. As these 4 came from the 10 great sects, they all knew that Peak Foundation establishment cultivators were able to fly through the air by relying on various secret techniques and profound magic power and spiritual sense. However, only the strongest cultivators of the 10 great sects were capable of such a feat. However, this person clearly possessed a lightning attribute cultivation art. This time, none of the disciples of the 10 great sects that came to the Demon Devil Island cultivated a lightning attribute cultivation art. The 4 couldn't help but feel puzzled. Chapter 392. The bald man from the Scorching Sun sect frowned and took a closer look at the smiling woman from the Ghost Spirit sect. He suddenly felt uneasy. He solemnly said, "Fellow Taoists, we still can't be certain that they are disciples of the Yang clan. How about we divide them equally like before? We came to the Demon Devil Island to advance to core formation. It would be bad if we were to fight each other and suffer heavy injuries. I heard that the Golden Spear sect's disciples were heavily injured by a powerful vagrant cultivator. I fear that the one with the most severe injuries will have no hope of reaching core formation on the Demon Devil Island." The woman from the Ghost Spirit sect inwardly sneered. Just as she was about to take action, she suddenly sensed something and looked up at the sky. Seeing this, the 2 from the Scorching Sun sect were unmoved. In fact, they even secretly despised this feint. But soon after, they heard the familiar sound of thunder exploding. They followed the woman's gaze and their expressions changed. They didn't know when, but the man who could fly had returned. And looking at the direction he was flying in, it was right in their direction. The disciples of the 2 sects also discovered that the lightning streak hadn't slowed down much and appeared as if it were about to fall. They quickly retreated. However, as the woman from the Ghost Spirit sect slowly retreated, she wore a puzzled expression and faintly muttered to herself, "Boom." In the end, under the dumbstruck gazes of the 6 cultivators below, the lightning streak fiercely struck the empty space between the 2 sects and the Yang clan, raising a cloud of dust. When the dust settled, a tall and sturdy man with short hair and a long face appeared. It was Lu Kuan who had changed his appearance. He had been experimenting with his Imperial Thunder escape technique. He had just been passing by, but his golden eyes had seen the situation below clearly. Of course, he remembered Yu Yifeng and Song Ping Er. However, he only had a business relationship with them. Moreover, the masters of these two people had shown him their power. Lu Kuan wouldn't have saved them, but he unexpectedly discovered the Yang clan's command medallion and changed his mind. As the second senior martial brother of the Tool Refinement Peak, Lu Kuan was extremely familiar with the command medallion and immediately wanted to examine it. However, due to his Imperial Thunder escape technique, when flying in a straight line for a long distance, there was no way for him to quickly change his direction or reduce his speed. He could only make a detour in the distance and return. Before he could flexibly control the Imperial Thunder escape technique, if he landed, he could only fall. As for the 4 disciples from the 10 great system-allocated sects in front of him, Lu Kuan had some impression of them when he was outside Demon Island. He didn't pay any attention to the cultivators who were on high alert. Instead, he took 2 steps forward and arrived at the original location of the Scorching Sun sect and the Ghost Spirit sect. He looked at the scattered materials on the ground. With a wave of his hand, the red token flew into his hand. Lu Kuan carefully rubbed it a few times with his hand and carefully observed it with his divine sense. He muttered to himself, "It really is the token of the crafting peak, it's genuine. As strange." After Lu Kuan used the special method of the crafting peak to examine it, he suddenly realized that there was a small restriction placed on the token. He was very familiar with this restriction method. It was a secret technique that the crafting peak lord had mastered. In the past, he had seen Nie Wufeng use it. The other core formation martial uncles of the peak were also able to use it. When I return, I'll have senior martial brother Qin examine it. He is also the crafting peak lord, so he should also know this restriction. With a plan in mind, Lu Kuan gently brushed all the materials under his feet with one hand, and very naturally, he put them away. Lu Kuan, who was channeling his magic power, was at the peak of the middle stage of foundation establishment. The cultivators opposite him were able to see through his cultivation, and they were all stunned. The Ghost Spirit sect cultivator surnamed Fei couldn't help but loudly say, "Fellow Taoist, you didn't say anything and took away our spoils of war. You're looking down on our Ghost Spirit sect and the Scorching Sun sect too much." Lu Kuan indifferently glanced at the 4 and didn't pay them any attention. Regardless of whether it was their divine sense or magic power, they were somewhat inferior to the likes of Philostikes and Tian Renji. If it was before his breakthrough, he would have been somewhat apprehensive. But now that he had reached mid-foundation establishment, he could use his peak strength to battle for a much longer time. He simply didn't place them in his eyes. He didn't even look at the Fei cultivator and turned around to walk towards Yu Yifeng and the others. Even if he didn't know the course of the battle, he was able to see that the storage pouch belonged to the senior martial brother and junior martial sister. Just as Lu Kuan was about to ask, he suddenly felt a wave of scorching magic power fluctuations behind him. Lu Kuan sneered. He turned around and saw 3 flame arrows, which were emitting the power of peak intermediate spells, shooting towards him. Spiritual light flashed from his hands and a purplish-black ball of lightning appeared in each of his hands. At the same time, a purple barrier of light enveloped his arms. Soon after, Lu Kuan's fist, which was holding the ball of lightning, collided with the flame arrows that were capable of breaking through the magic power barrier of a peak foundation establishment cultivator. Bang! 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 The 3 seemingly powerful magic techniques were extinguished one by Lu Kuan's seemingly ordinary fist. The remnants of the flames exploded on Lu Kuan's bare arms and broke through the faint purple barrier. However, they didn't cause any damage to his arms. Impossible! The bald man's face was filled with disbelief when he saw this. When the Ghost Spirit sect cultivator saw this, his heart sank. Although he clearly saw that this person was at the peak of mid-foundation establishment, The fact that this person was able to fly greatly increased his vigilance. He had already secretly tossed out a concealment magic treasure. The man with the surname Fei abruptly formed a hand seal, and a giant ghost claw formed from gray spirit light suddenly appeared above Lu Kuan, emanating an eerie ghostly aura. "Be careful, fellow Taoist." At that moment, Yue Feng recovered some of his strength and felt the ghost spirit claw's aura, causing him to immediately shout. However, the burly man seemed to be able to see the ghost spirit claw's magic tools. The weapons in his hands had already turned into two sparkling silver staves. The silent woman from the ghost spirit sect had been paying attention to Lu Kuan's movements the entire time. When she saw that he was able to see through the ghost spirit claw's concealment, her eyes shined with a trace of hidden spiritual power. Lu Kuan inwardly sneered. Although his spiritual sense wasn't necessarily able to detect the ghost spirit claw's concealment technique, his mysterious golden eye ability was no small matter. He had already seen the ghost spirit claw approaching him. As a result, he promptly took out his Thunderfall staff and planned to meet it head-on. But just as he was about to gather his strength and attack the ghost spirit claw began to emit strange fluctuations. Lu Kuan suddenly felt all sorts of ghostly cries and howls in his mind. His spiritual sense became dazed and his hands stopped moving. The huge ghost spirit claw seized the opportunity to grab onto Lu Kuan. In the distance, the two Scorching Sun sect cultivators had a tacit understanding. They didn't hesitate to expend their vitality and shot out 6 arrows through the gaps in the ghost spirit claw, accurately striking Lu Kuan's defenseless body. A series of explosions rang out. The ghost spirit claw's greatest use was to control the enemy, while the Scorching Sun arrow's strength lay in its offensive power. When these two pseudo-magic treasures worked together, their abilities complemented each other and their might was astonishing. The two male practitioners of the Scorching Sun sect and the man with the surname Fei heaved a sigh of relief inwardly. This strange man could fly in the air, and even calmly received 3 Scorching Sun arrows, which made them feel extremely pressured, as if they were facing their senior brother in the sect. Just as they relaxed, the woman from the ghost spirit sect's expression suddenly changed and she involuntarily cried out, "Not good." Just as her voice fell, the huge ghost spirit claw's pseudo-magic treasure suddenly shattered. The man surnamed Fei's face paled. At the same time, he felt the ghost spirit claw's main body being blasted away by a huge force, causing him to feel a burst of tightness in his chest. The woman beside him couldn't help but take a step back as if she had also suffered some damage. When the two Scorching Sun sect cultivators saw this, their eyes widened and they cried out in alarm. "How is this possible?" They saw that the mid-foundation establishment cultivator's robes were somewhat tattered and his exposed skin was only slightly charred. He was actually completely unscathed under the attack of the two pseudo-magic treasures. Furthermore, this unfamiliar man's body had also undergone some changes. His arms were deformed and thickened by several times. His veins were bulging, making him look incomparably ferocious. The 2 shining silver staves in his hands had also become a size larger. Chapter 393. When these people, including the woman, felt the terrifying blood qi rushing towards them, their expressions turned solemn as if they were facing a great enemy. This blood qi made them feel as if they were facing a 5th-grade demon beast. How can a human cultivator have such vigorous blood qi? It's like a 5th-grade demon beast. Could it be that he used some kind of Devil Dao secret technique and overdrew the blood qi in his body? That arm that has increased by several times gives me an extremely dangerous aura. The few people who saw this scene had their own guesses, but they all revealed a bit of fear on their faces. Their strength couldn't be ranked at the top in the Demon Island. However, they could be considered as the top characters in their respective sections. Those who could cultivate to this level all knew how to judge the situation. If they met such a powerful cultivator elsewhere, they would definitely leave without saying a word. However, the situation was different now. This involved the remaining disciples of the Yang clan, a great sect with 10,000 years of history. Even if their strength couldn't be compared to the 10 great sects of the Chu state, they were definitely very rich. They clearly saw that the cultivator before them was a mid-foundation establishment cultivator. The powerful defensive power he displayed could be caused by a secret technique, but it didn't necessarily correspond to his combat strength. Lu Kuan saw the fear and reluctance in their eyes. How could he not see through their thoughts? Just because of a command medallion, these cultivators became so greedy. It's clear how attractive the Yang clan's wealth is to cultivators. It seems that Yue Feng and the others are really related to the Yang clan. It's better to kill these people to avoid unnecessary trouble. As this thought flashed through his mind, Lu Kuan suddenly exerted magic power in his legs and rushed towards the disciples of the Scorching Sun sect and Ghost Spirit sect, accompanied by the sound of thunder. The few people who were still hesitating saw Lu Kuan rush up without saying a word. His speed was as fast as lightning. They decided not to think about anything else and deal with this wave of attacks first. Through the previous exchange, the two from the Scorching Sun sect already knew that their Ardent Sun Bow's attack couldn't do anything to this man. They could see that his physical defense was incredible, able to withstand mid-grade magic technique. Since they couldn't use the Ardent Sun Bow's most powerful attack, they couldn't do anything to their opponents. Therefore, they could only take defensive measures. The two of them put away their Ardent Sun Bows and each took out an identical flaming shield. This level 3 spiritual immortal treasure was called the Ardent Sun Shield. It was the standard defensive immortal treasure of the Ardent Sun sect. Don't underestimate the Scorching Sun sect. Although they all had the same name, they had different levels. The high-level Scorching Sun Shield could even be used as a complete set of magic weapons under the same cultivation method. From the patriarch of the Scorching Sun sect tens of thousands of years ago to the current Qi refinement stage cultivators, all of them used the Scorching Sun Shield as their defensive magical artifact. After so many years of improvement, the defensive power of this magical artifact was definitely not inferior to any defensive magical artifact of the same level. This was one of the strengths of the Scorching Sun sect. Almost all of their inner disciples cultivated fire elemental techniques, so all of their magic weapons were of the same element. Although they didn't have any powerful inheritance of artifact refinement techniques, the Scorching Sun sect had long since developed a system of refining fire elemental magic tools after countless years of repeated refinement. Even the Yang clan wasn't much better at refining fire elemental magic tools than the Scorching Sun sect. The two Scorching Sun sect disciples used the same cultivation method, and the two Ardent Sun shields directly linked together to form a huge rhombus-shaped shield. Soon after, a unique flame fluctuation spread from the shield. At the same time, a 3-meter-tall flame shield appeared on the outside of the rhombus-shaped shield. From its appearance alone, not only did the flame shield have impressive defensive power, it also contained fire elemental magic that could be used to counter attacks and reduce the enemy's attack. From the moment the two summoned the shield to the moment they used their combined technique, only an instant had passed. However, even after they used their strongest defensive technique, the attack they were expecting didn't come. Using their spiritual sense, they discovered that the terrifying man wasn't attacking them. Instead, he was charging towards the man and woman from the Ghost Spirit sect. That's right. The Ghost Spirit sect's pseudo-magic treasure has just controlled this man. Compared to them, he's more of a threat. The two men from the Scorching Sun sect heaved a sigh of relief and looked at the Ghost Spirit Claw. They didn't know when, but the Ghost Spirit Claw had grown several times in size. It held the two Ghost Spirit sect disciples in it and turned into a huge fist. There was also a thick layer of gray spiritual light on the outside. Boom, boom, boom. The burly man used his incomparably thick arms to wave the long silver staff and continuously bombarded the bone-claw fist. Even though the two scorching sun sect disciples were about 30 meters away, they could still feel the violent tremors from the ground. When they saw the ghost spirit claw slowly being blasted into the ground, they unconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva and felt endless fear in their hearts. What kind of power is this? Is he really a grade 5 demon beast? Is his appearance and cultivation nothing but a high-level illusion technique? They gradually discovered that as the gray light on the ghost spirit claw dimmed, faint traces of blood mist and black chi emerged from it. They even smelled a trace of blood in their nostrils. The man and woman from the ghost spirit sect couldn't have been killed by this terrifying power inside the ghost spirit claw, right? They couldn't help but have this thought in their minds. Soon after, the two scorching sun sect disciples glanced at each other and seemed to have reached a consensus. They quickly moved closer and hid behind the scorching sun shield, secretly forming some kind of incantation gesture. Strange. This pseudo-magic treasure also has the ability to change its size and is so sturdy. With the support of the giant arm's divine ability, each of my attacks is no less than 50,000 kilograms of force. After so many bombardments, it's still intact without any cracks. It can't also be made of silver dragon meteoric iron, right? After bombarding about 20 attacks, Lu Kuan couldn't help but feel puzzled. He couldn't determine the material of this pseudo-magic treasure with the spiritual light of the ghost spirit claw in the way. Lu Kuan smelled the scent of blood in the air and looked at the bloody mist that seeped through the cracks of the ghost spirit claw. He thought to himself, it would have been fine if these two had used other methods to defend themselves, but they just had to use this method to defend themselves. As long as the pseudo-magic treasure is connected to your mind, some of my power will be transmitted. Not to mention, you're so close to me. The meteoric rod has a special formation engraved on it that transmits power through vibration. Sensing the faintly discernible aura inside, Lu Kuan was prepared to exert more strength and kill the person inside in one fell swoop. However, at this moment, he seemed to have sensed something. He stopped his attack and turned his head to look. He saw that the two scorching sun sect disciples, who had been cautiously defending themselves with what Lu Kuan considered to be quite impressive shields, had unknowingly put away their shields. Chapter 394. As expected of the scorching sun sect, ranked third among the 10 great sects, these two disciples are actually able to use such an escape technique with the help of a pseudo-magic treasure. Unless I immediately use the Silver Dragon Spirit Shuttle to chase after them, I definitely won't be able to catch up to them in a short time. While Lu Kuan was paying attention to the two Scorching Sun sect disciples, he didn't notice that the Ghost Spirit Claw pseudo-magic treasure had turned dark red at some point in time. The smell of blood had also disappeared. Forget it. If they want to escape, then let them escape. I did not reveal my true face. Let's kill off the Ghost Spirit sect cultivators first, Lu Kuan thought to himself as he prepared to continue attacking and kill off the two cultivators. However, at this moment, something strange happened. The ghost claw, which had already turned dark red and was clenched into a fist, suddenly flew up from the ground and smashed towards Lu Kuan, who had relaxed his mind. At the same time the claw attacked, Lu Kuan immediately felt a ghostly wail in his mind. However, he was already prepared for it. When he felt something strange, he immediately used the concealment ability of his spiritual roots and hid his spiritual sense in his sea of consciousness, causing the terrifying spiritual sense attack to fail. Taking advantage of this momentary distraction, the ghost-clawed fist carried a terrifying might as it hammered Lu Kuan's right arm. However, Lu Kuan, who was still conscious, tightened his muscles and activated the defensive thunder barrier in time. Even so, Lu Kuan still felt an intense pain in his arm. Furthermore, a dense ghostly spiritual power entered his body. He was sent flying 30 meters away and rolled several times on the ground. What's going on? The claw's attack power increased by so much? Lu Kuan didn't know what happened to the claw, but he felt that it was close to the full power attack of Xiao Hongfei's Vajra Chakram. If Lu Kuan was still at early foundation establishment, this attack would have injured him, and he wouldn't be able to continue fighting for a short time. However, after Lu Kuan entered the middle stage of foundation establishment, his blood, which contained liquid mana, was not completely useless. It doubled his recovery ability. Lu Kuan snorted coldly and quickly stood up. The monstrous power of qi and blood reappeared, and most of it surged into his right arm. The dense and pure thunder attribute dermic power was vast and mighty, and while it healed the injuries of his arm, it also completely destroyed the foreign spiritual qi that had entered his body. Then, Lu Kuan leaped into the air. The meteoric staff in his hands connected end to end as he swung it at the incoming dark red claw. Bang! A crisp sound rang out, as if two extremely hard pieces of metal had collided. The dark red ghost claw was blown away by Lu Kuan's combined staff. Although the power of this pseudo-magical treasure was greatly increased, it still couldn't do anything to Lu Kuan, who had advanced to the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm and used the giant arm divine ability. After sending the ghost claw flying, Lu Kuan landed firmly on the ground. He didn't pursue it. Instead, he narrowed his eyes and looked at the woman 30 meters away. The tall and beautiful woman's aura had greatly changed. Her entire body emitted dark and pure magic power fluctuations. In Lu Kuan's perception, these fluctuations weren't the slightest bit inferior to the Philosophies. In fact, they were close to Xiao Hongfei's. Lu Kuan then looked behind the woman. Apart from the ghost spirit sex robes, there were no other corpses. When he thought of the smell of blood he had smelled earlier, his expression changed as if he had thought of something. The tall woman's lips curled and she said in a pleasant voice, "Fellow Taoist, you seem to have discovered something. However, this fairy must thank you. With your assistance, the ghost spirit claw has successfully absorbed another sacrifice. It is now one step closer to becoming a magic treasure." When Lu Kuan heard this, his expression turned unsightly. He said with a heavy voice, as expected, "It is the soul sacrifice tool refinement technique. With your cultivation, it seems you are the ghost spirit sect's eldest senior martial sister, and I your. But fellow Taoist has acted against a fellow disciple of the sect. Are you not afraid of being discovered by the sect's elders?" The tall woman revealed a trace of disdain. Could it be that fellow Taoist doesn't know that the Demon Devil Island is completely isolated from the outside world? Even with the sect's secret soul technique, the outside world is unable to detect it. When Lu Kuan heard this, he put on a fake smile and said, "Fairy and I, could it be you are not afraid that I will leak this information?" The tall woman meaningfully said, "I believe fellow Taoist wouldn't do such a thing. Fellow Taoist may be able to deceive others, but you can't deceive me." When you looked at the Yang clan's command medallion, your eyes were filled with pleasant surprise. You didn't have the slightest trace of greed like those 3 male cultivators. Furthermore, to be able to call out the soul sacrifice tool refinement technique, your tool refinement skills are definitely not low. In truth, fellow Taoist is a disciple of the Yang clan. Your identity is shameful. How could you dare to spread it around? When Lu Kuan heard this, he smiled and said, "I didn't expect Fairy Ni's imagination to be so rich. However, I truly covet the treasures of the Yang clan. I plan to bring these 2 back and interrogate them to see if there are any other gains." And Ayua recalled the dark red bone claw and curled her lip. As expected of one of the Yang clan's tool refinement peak's twin heroes, Lu Kuan. Not only are you powerful, but your ability to spout nonsense without flinching is also very formidable. It's no wonder you were able to escape from the state of Wei to the state of Chu. Lu Kuan was shocked. He didn't expect Yu to be able to recognize him. Furthermore, she seemed to be very familiar with him, and even knew of his title as the twin heroes of Tool Refinement Peak. Could it be that the Miraculous Gate has some sort of deal with the Ghost Spirit Sect, and wants to use the Ghost Spirit Sect's influence in the state of Chu to continue tracking our whereabouts? This won't do. It would be better to kill Yu. As these thoughts flashed through Lu Kuan's mind, he continued to pour blood essence into his arms. After entering Mid-Foundation establishment, he discovered that the magic power contained in his blood greatly reduced the amount of blood essence required for the giant arm's divine ability, allowing him to maintain it for a longer period of time. Yu didn't wait for Lu Kuan to make a move. She let out a bell-like laugh and said, "It seems fellow Taoist Lu wants to silence me. Fellow Taoist Lu's abilities are outstanding. I am indeed a bit weaker than you. However, you are too naive if you think you can kill me." As the tall woman spoke, the dark red ghost claw had already transformed into a palm and was floating beneath her feet. Soon after, she and the ghost claw simultaneously released a burst of gray light as if they were about to shoot out. But at that moment, Yu's expression changed. The ghost claw rapidly expanded into a fist and wrapped around her. Just as she completed this action, a magic ball the size of a watermelon and flickering with blinding lightning struck the ghost claw. The huge force contained in the magic ball not only dimmed the spiritual light on the ghost claw, but also sent it flying. Lu Kuan Yu. Before Yu could finish speaking, another ball of lightning blasted over. The ghost claw was already prepared. It glowed brightly and shifted slightly to the side. Then, it borrowed the force of the lightning ball to fly into the distance. In the blink of an eye, it sped up even faster than the scorching sun sect's escape technique. Lu Kuan, just you wait. Once I reach core formation, I will find you to exchange pointers. Accompanied by this teeth-gnashing voice, the ghost claw quickly disappeared from Lu Kuan's sight. I really underestimated the 10 great sects. I didn't think that their disciples who have completed Foundation establishment have so many life-saving methods. Even if I can defeat them, it will be very difficult to kill them alone. But if the Dahe is here, it will be a different story. Chapter 395. When Yue Feng and Song Ping Er realized that they were out of danger and that their enemies were scared off by the man suspected to be from the Yang clan, they relaxed and directly fainted. The two of them had gone through 2 big battles and burned their liquid mana. They were seriously injured and both their minds and bodies were extremely weak. Lu Kuan looked at the two of them speechlessly and sighed. They just fainted like that? Could it be that they really have something to do with the Yang clan and think that I won't do anything to them? Then Lu Kuan checked the two of them and found that other than the damage to their bodies, there was nothing he could do about the chaotic spiritual energy in their bodies. He shook his head and said, "I'm a body cultivator and I don't practice traditional techniques. I can't do anything about their injuries. Anyway, their lives aren't in danger. Let's go to a safe place first." Then a light flashed in his hand and a light purple spirit shuttle appeared on the ground. Lu Kuan threw the two of them onto the shuttle. Then he used the normal speed of the Silver Dragon Spirit Shuttle and flew towards the Demon Spirit Mountain. Lu Kuan controlled the Spirit Shuttle and slowly circulated the blood in his body. At the same time, he used his techniques to absorb the abundant spiritual energy here and convert it into lightning mana and store it in his bone marrow. Through his bone marrow, he replenished the mana in his blood. After entering the middle stage of Foundation establishment, Lu Kuan's healing became more efficient. His blood was filled with lightning mana, and when his blood circulated, it accelerated the recovery of his injuries. At the moment, he was relieving the damage caused to his right arm by the ghost spirit claw. Just now, he used up a portion of his blood to allow his arm to continue fighting and didn't heal. After entering the middle stage of Foundation establishment, although my mana is much thicker than before and using my blood circulation to heal is much more efficient. But there are also troublesome areas. Lu Kuan felt the slow replenishment of his blood mana. He frowned and said, "It's just that the replenishment of blood mana has become very troublesome. First, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth passes through my thunder stamp and transforms into lightning attribute mana. Then, it passes through the bone marrow cavity and transforms into blood mana at a ratio of 9:1. The conversion ratio of blood magic power will slow down my cultivation speed. It's not obvious in a place like the Demon Island, which is full of spiritual chi. But when I leave the Demon Island, even if I use a lot of spirit stones, the speed of replenishing magic power will be much slower than ordinary cultivators. Although my following cultivation will only require painstaking effort, it will also require me to circulate the blood in my body with all my might, consuming the mana in my blood and slowly nourishing my blood vessels and organs. If the speed of replenishing my magic power is very slow, it may very well prolong the time I need to enter the late stage of foundation establishment." While Lu Kuan was pondering, the injury on his right arm had completely healed. What followed was the consumption of some of his blood mana. Seeing his right arm recover so quickly, Lu Kuan couldn't help but sigh. There are gains and losses in blood mana. Then, he saw the thunder stamp on his arm and his eyes suddenly lit up. "Oh right, I almost forgot about the thunder stamp. When I entered the early stage of foundation establishment, I could only inscribe 2 thunder stamps, one for each arm. At that time, it was because my body wasn't strong enough. Now that I'm in the middle stage of foundation establishment, I'm much stronger than before. After dealing with Yu Yifeng and the others, I'll continue inscribing the thunder stamp. If the thunder stamp can cover my entire body, then my cultivation speed will increase. The problem of the low conversion rate of blood mana will also be solved." Lu Kuan looked at the Demon Island in the distance and made up his mind. "I must make good use of the remaining time on the Demon Island and use the dense spiritual chi to increase the speed of nourishing my organs. 2 years here is at least equivalent to 6 years of cultivation in the outside world." While Lu Kuan was thinking, the Silver Dragon Spirit Shuttle flew into the Demon Island and arrived at the cave where he broke through the early stage of foundation establishment. Lu Kuan looked at the demonic chi area and sensed that Xiao Jin, who was connected to him by blood, was quietly cultivating. Then, he set up a few defensive spell formations. He looked at the 2 people who were still unconscious and hesitated for a moment. Then, he took out one of the Philosophies' storage bags and looked inside. A spiritual light flashed in his hand and a pill bottle appeared. He took out 2 blue pills and flicked them into the mouths of Yu Yifeng and Song Ping Er. As expected of the Heavenly Talisman Sect's senior apprentices' healing pills. The moment the pills entered the mouths of Yu Yifeng and Song Ping Er, the mana in their bodies began to fluctuate again. After about an hour, Yu Yifeng was the first to open his eyes. His originally nervous expression relaxed after seeing the expressionless Lu Kuan. He recovered from his injuries and said sincerely, "Thank you for saving us, Taoist Lu. Otherwise, my junior apprentice sister and I would have been doomed." Lu Kuan heard this and asked curiously, "Did you hear what Niu Er said just now? Do you really think that I am a disciple of the Yang clan like she said? I can also be a cultivator who harbors ill intentions towards the Yang clan." Yu Yifeng looked at his junior apprentice sister, who was still channeling her mana, and said self-deprecatingly, "My junior apprentice sister and I are already seriously injured. Any cultivator on the Demon Island would not be able to retaliate. Previously, you only took one look at the Yang clan's token and determined that it was real. Only a disciple of the Yang clan's weapon refining peak would be able to distinguish this unique structure of the token." Lu Kuan nodded. Anyway, His face was unfamiliar, and Yue Feng would not recognize him as the person who traded the demon token. He admitted, "Yes, I am indeed a disciple of the Yang clan. I was just passing by. If I did not find this token, I would not have come down to save you." "Tell me, where did you get this token? I don't remember the two of you from the weapon refining peak. From your tone, you know this token very well. It doesn't seem like you picked it up." At this time, Song Ping opened her eyes and said, "We can tell Daoist Lu the reason, but Daoist Lu has to confirm that it is indeed the Yang clan's token." Hearing this, Lu Kuan's expression became slightly bleak. A spiritual light flashed in his hand, and the token that he had always kept in his storage bag appeared. He handed it over. Yue Feng and Song Ping immediately grabbed Lu Kuan's token and used their divine sense to examine it carefully. They found that the main structure of this token was exactly the same as the one their master had given them. However, there were some new and exquisite designs. With their skill in weapon refining, they could tell that these new designs were added later. In addition, there was Lu Kuan's information in this token. They confirmed that this person was Lu Kuan, a disciple of the Yang clan's weapon refining peak. They remembered that the Lu Kuan that Anir had mentioned was one of the two heroes of the weapon refining peak. He should be the leader of the weapon refining peak. Yue Feng said with a strange tone, "Master's last wish was for us to help a disciple of the Yang clan if we could. Who would have thought that we would be the ones being saved? Our lineage owes the Yang clan more and more." Lu Kuan heard this and asked in confusion, "Your master?" Song Ping also felt a bit emotional. She said, "Daoist Lu, let me explain to you." Chapter 396. After Lu Kuan heard the story, the doubts hidden in his heart were resolved. He sighed with emotion. Martial Ancestor Fong already had a premonition back then and left behind this contingency plan. No wonder senior martial brother Gu Tianjian had us escape to the sea. It seems the sect's elders already planned this. Sai, who knew that the miraculous gate's attack would be so fierce. The elders didn't have time to explain it to me. That's right, there was a hidden message in the command medallion. It was very likely left behind by martial Ancestor Fong. Lu Kuan immediately thought of what he sensed from the command medallion and revealed a trace of joy. He then looked at Yue Feng and Song Ping and pondered for a moment before saying, "The sect's elders didn't mention what you said to me. However, your master should still be on the Abyss Island. When the Demon Devil Island reopens, we'll go to the Abyss Market together. I'll personally meet your master." When Yue Feng heard this, he revealed a somewhat hurt expression and said, "Fellow Daoist Lu, you don't know. In the past, our master came to the Demon Devil Island with the assistance of your sect's martial ancestor. However, just as he reached core formation stage, he was ambushed by a powerful ghost spirit sect cultivator. His spiritual sense hasn't recovered and his lifespan is nearing its end. It's very likely that by the time we leave the island, he will already be gone." Lu Kuan recalled the feeling that the old man gave them. He truly did appear to be nearing the end of his lifespan. He muttered to himself for a moment and said, "If that's the case, I still have a senior martial brother. He might know more about the situation. When the time comes, come with me to meet him. At that time, he should be able to determine whether you're telling the truth or not." Yue Feng and Song Ping silently nodded. Lu Kuan then asked, "What do you two plan to do next? Do you want to find a place to break through to core formation?" Yue Feng and Song Ping glanced at each other and revealed bitter smiles. Yue Feng said, "Junior sister and I burned our magic power in the 2 battles. In the end, we were seriously injured and our foundation was damaged. Even if the Demon Island is full of spiritual energy, I'm afraid we won't be able to form our core." Song Ping expression was bleak. She thought about how the two of them had racked their brains to obtain another fiendish demon token and how their master had high hopes for them. They entered the fiendish demon island full of confidence and felt that they would most likely be able to enter the core formation realm. Who knew that they would not be able to resist the encirclement of the 10 great sects? If they had not met Lu Kuan, they might have died. Lu Kuan pondered for a moment and said, "Since that's the case, you guys can stay in this cave. This place is close to the demonic aura area. If the disciples of the 10 great sects want to break through to the core formation stage, they won't come here. The most important thing for all of you is to protect your own lives. 2 years later, when the demon island reopens, all of you will follow me out. Otherwise, if you encounter a core formation cultivator, only death awaits you." Yue Feng and Song Ping couldn't make up their minds. They had seen Lu Kuan's ability to scare away 4 enemies and subconsciously nodded and followed his arrangements. Lu Kuan took out a gray formation plate from his storage bag and handed it to Yue Feng. He said, "If you encounter any life-threatening danger, crush this formation plate. I'll be in the demonic aura area nearby. I'll be here soon." After he finished speaking, Lu Kuan opened the cave's restriction and walked out. "Fellow Taoists, just stay here and heal your injuries. You don't need to go anywhere. In 2 years, I will come over." After leaving behind a few words, Lu Kuan disappeared from the two people's sight and the restriction closed once again. Yue Feng held the gray formation plate in his hand and his expression was slightly dejected. Song Ping looked at the flashing defensive restriction and said, "Senior Marshal Brother, fellow Taoist Lu seems to have forgotten to give us the formation plate that controls the restriction here." Yue Feng sighed and said, "Junior Marshal Sister, did you not understand the meaning of fellow Taoist Lu's last sentence?" Song Ping's expression changed and said, "He still doesn't trust us and wants to imprison us here." After she finished speaking, the sweet-looking woman nervously checked the restriction around them. Yue Feng shook his head and said, "Junior Marshal Sister, I have already checked. The restriction here is a very high-level defensive formation. It has defensive effects both inside and outside. If we can use a pseudo-magic treasure, we can barely break it. However, when we break it, fellow Taoist Lu will most likely sense it. With his amazing abilities, even if we are at our peak, we won't be able to resist. Let's just stay here. Fellow Taoist Lu is very thoughtful. This gray formation plate is not only a tool for us to call for help. If we are in any other situation, we can also contact him through it." Song Ping nodded after hearing her senior martial brother's words. Next, Yue Feng and Song Ping began to heal their injuries. If they recovered quickly, they would still have a chance to try to form their core. At this moment, Lu Kuan was rushing in the direction of Xiao Jin. He basically believed what Yue Feng and the others said. Yue Feng and the others had never seen Lu Kuan before, but Lu Kuan had some understanding of their treasure refining pavilion through Zhu Xiaofeng. In addition, the magic treasures they refined were of excellent quality. It was very likely that they had obtained the refining techniques of the Yang clan. However, just in case, it was better to wait for Senior Marshal Brother Qin to break the restriction on the token first. As these thoughts flashed through his mind, Lu Kuan had already entered the demonic aura area. He had previously promised Dahe that after he broke through, he would give Dahe something. It could confirm the bloodline between them and possibly help Dahe break through. However, there was a problem with their bloodline. After Lu Kuan displayed the monstrous aura of a mid-foundation establishment cultivator, Dahe had already sensed it. The Black Mountain Ape was very likely a branch of the giant Golden Ape and had inherited part of its abilities. Since their bloodline was the same, Lu Kuan's item would definitely be of great use to Dahe. This item was his blood essence. Originally, Lu Kuan had planned to give him a bottle of blood essence when he reached early foundation establishment. However, after considering that he might not have enough blood marrow powder, he didn't take it out. Moreover, after he entered the middle stage of foundation establishment, the blood in his body would undergo a transformation, and the blood essence produced would definitely be different. Lu Kuan planned to refer to the blood essence refining method in Tian Renjie's red refining devil technique. If he refined his blood essence and refined it, the effect would be even stronger. Through Xiao Jin's situation, Lu Kuan understood the importance of a high-grade bloodline to a demon beast. His blood essence contained a portion of the giant golden ape's bloodline power. If he refined it, it would be able to help Dahe break through. After the recent battle, Lu Kuan realized that the cultivators here all had some tricks up their sleeve. He had offended the Scorching Sun sect and the Ghost Spirit sect. If these people were to break through to core formation, they would definitely look for him. With the help of a grade 5 demon beast like Dahe, even if he were to be discovered, he would still be able to fight. After Xiao Hongfei swore the spiritual sense oath, he disappeared without a trace. He was afraid that I would find him. Otherwise, with his help after he reached core formation, there would be no danger. Chapter 397. On the Demon Devil Island, there was a small hidden valley filled with dense spiritual qi. Layers of restrictions had been set up outside the valley. If an ordinary cultivator were to see this place, they would definitely think that it was the location of a small sect. In the small valley, there was a red-robed man standing in the middle of a stone house. His entire body was emitting a scorching aura. He had short hair and a square face. He had an extraordinary bearing, and his eyes faintly flickered with red light. At a glance, one could tell that he cultivated an extremely powerful cultivation technique. This was O Yangla, the first senior brother of the Scorching Sun sect, a foundation establishment stage cultivator. He possessed the body of 3 yang, which would increase the power of any fire attribute cultivation method he practiced. He was famous among the foundation establishment stage cultivators of the Chu Kingdom. At this moment, there were 2 weak-looking men in front of O Yangla. They bitterly smiled as they recounted something. Their eyes revealed their respect for O Yangla. These 2 men were the Scorching Sun sect disciples that had been scared away by Lu Kuan. After about the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the 2 Scorching Sun sect disciples finished recounting how they had chased after Yue Feng and his companion. O Yangla pondered for a moment and looked at his 2 frightened junior martial brothers. He asked, "Where is the Scorching Sun Bao?" When the bald man heard this, he immediately patted his storage pouch and took out the fiery red longbow. He respectfully handed it over to O Yangla. The Scorching Sun sect's senior martial brother carefully examined the undamaged longbow with his spiritual sense and suddenly asked, "Junior martial brother Gao, you said that the Ghost Spirit sect's Ghost Spirit Claw can cause the enemy's spiritual sense to be distracted?" The bald man was surprised. He thought that this senior martial brother would ask about the Yang clan. Who would have thought that he would ask about the details of the battle? He carefully recalled and said with certainty, "That is indeed the case. It was thanks to the Ghost Spirit Claw that we were able to easily defeat those 2 vagrant cultivators. Even that strange cultivator with astonishing divine abilities behind us was attacked by us." A trace of anger flashed through O Yangla's eyes. He said, "I didn't think that this treacherous woman would play such a trick on me. She actually disguised herself as an ordinary Ghost Spirit sect disciple. It seems she was waiting for an opportunity to attack my Scorching Sun sect disciples. It seems that after advancing to the core formation stage, I will have to exchange pointers with her." As the first senior brother of the Scorching Sun sect, O Yangla was deeply respected and loved by the disciples of the sect. Other than his strength, it was also because he was very protective of his disciples and often stood up for them. When the bald man and the short-haired man heard what their eldest senior brother said, they revealed looks of disbelief. The bald man said, "It can't be, eldest senior brother. We've checked that woman before. Her cultivation level isn't that profound at all. You might not know this, but the ghost spirit claw's ability to interfere with one's spiritual sense requires one to cultivate the ghost spirit sect's nether arts. Of all the ghost spirit sect disciples on Demon Devil Island, only Niu knows this technique. Then, Yangla revealed a look of relief and said, "Luckily, you guys were smart enough to escape back here. With Niu's abilities, she wouldn't have died so easily. She definitely had some tricks up her sleeve. You'll be in the most danger if you stay." The two Scorching Sun sect disciples were drenched in cold sweat, especially the bald man. When he recalled the woman's strange expression when they confronted the ghost spirit sect disciples, he immediately believed his eldest senior brother's guess. Yangla sincerely said, "That's enough. You've only lost some magic power. You aren't injured and won't affect your core formation. This valley has been under the care of our Scorching Sun sect for many generations. There won't be any problems. Don't think about anything else. Advancing to the core formation stage is the most important." "Yes, eldest senior brother." After respectfully acknowledging the order, the two men left. Yangla stroked the Scorching Sun bow and put it away in his storage pouch. He thoughtfully said, "His physical defense and strength are both so powerful." He was able to recognize the Yang clan's command medallion at a glance. Could it be the Yang clan's disciple Lu Kuan? According to the sect's information, this person's strength is only at the late foundation establishment stage. Could it be that he had a fortuitous encounter? Then, Yangla shook his head and muttered to himself, "Since he has such strength, I may not be able to defeat him. I should think about it after advancing to the core formation stage. With my 3 Yang body's talent and my many years of cultivation, if everything goes smoothly, I have a 30% chance of condensing a trace of the fire of the 3 Yang when I advance to the core formation stage on the Demon Island. When that time comes, my strength will increase tremendously. Even those in the intermediate core formation stage will not be my opponent." When Yangla said, "the fire of the 3 Yang," his eyes shone with passion. In the Demon Spirit Mountain, Lu Kuan was still sitting cross-legged on the branch of the giant tree. His face was slightly pale. In his hand was a jade bottle. Inside the jade bottle, half of it was filled with dark red blood. "I didn't think that after I advanced to the intermediate foundation establishment stage, the magic power inside the refined blood would disappear after leaving my body. However, the vigorous qi and blood are still there. Just as I expected, this qi and blood are much stronger than when I was in the early foundation establishment stage. If I use this qi and blood to refine the blood marrow powder, what will happen?" Lu Kuan couldn't help but think this way. However, he quickly shook his head and sighed, "I will continue to produce qi and blood, but blood coagulation grass is hard to come by. I should think about condensing it." Then he took out the jade slip that Tian Renjia left behind and carefully looked through the blood essence refining method of the Crimson Devil art. He had only hurriedly scanned through this section and didn't study it in detail. He only felt that it would be helpful to him. Now that he looked at it, he found that there were some problems. The Crimson Devil art used the blood essence of a cultivator's entire body to refine, while he only used a little bit of blood essence. Although it is a bit different, I can control the strength of this Crimson Devil art and use the weakest method to condense it. After muttering to himself, Lu Kuan began to carefully comprehend the Crimson Devil art. Ever since he entered the foundation establishment stage, he relied on his mutated spiritual roots to cultivate the various foundation establishment stage spells very quickly. Even if this Crimson Devil art was unique to the Crimson Devil art, he was still able to comprehend some of it. After all, the ability to comprehend spells with mutated spiritual roots was well known in the cultivation world. Lu Kuan comprehended the Crimson Devil art for a day and a night. On the second day, He suddenly stirred the magic power in his body and formed a profound hand seal. At the same time, he muttered an incantation. Soon, a strange magic power fluctuation appeared in his hand and circled around the blood essence in the bottle. After a while, the blood essence didn't change at all. Lu Kuan frowned and increased the output of his magic power. As his magic power deepened, the blood essence in the bottle gradually boiled and condensed. When Lu Kuan saw this, he understood that this crimson devil art was actually used to refine the blood essence and expel the impurities. In order to obtain the best blood essence from a cultivator's corpse, one must condense the blood in the muscles, bones, and organs. This was 100 times better than when old Devil Murong used the crimson devil art to refine the blood essence. Soon, Lu Kuan's small bottle of blood essence condensed into a drop of extremely dense blood. His blood essence didn't have any other impurities, so this crimson devil art only had the effect of condensing it. But just as Lu Kuan was about to sigh with emotion, the surrounding demonic chi seemed to have sensed something. Under Lu Kuan's sluggish gaze, the demonic chi madly rushed towards the drop of blood. Chapter 398. What's going on, this demonic aura? Lu Kuan looked in shock at the dense demonic aura that was continuously entering the jade bottle. He had never thought that his refined blood essence could absorb demonic aura on its own. Previously, in the spiritual demon valley, he could only barely absorb demonic aura after creating the demonic attraction technique. That's right, Xiao Jin said that when I advanced to the middle stage of foundation establishment, this phenomenon also happened. However, at that time, the demonic aura entered my blood marrow cavity. Is there a connection between the two? Just as Lu Kuan was muttering to himself, the two demon apes, one big and one small, had already climbed up the tree branch he was on. However, Xiao Jin and Dahe looked at the drop of blood that had caused this abnormality with completely different expressions. Xiao Jin's eyes revealed attachment and confusion, while Dahe looked at the drop of blood essence with complete reverence. Soon, the demonic aura stopped entering. The blood in the jade bottle did not seem to have changed at all. Lu Kuan could not even detect any demonic spiritual power or demonic aura in this drop of blood essence. He could not help but ask blankly, Xiao Jin, do you know what's going on? This is the same situation as when I broke through. The demonic aura mysteriously disappeared. Xiao Jin shook his head. The expression on his face was even more confused than Lu Kuan's. Meanwhile, Dahe just stared at the drop of blood. Neither of them know, but this is definitely related to the bloodline of the giant golden ape. Lu Kuan was a little emotional. Because of this bloodline, the foundation of my physical body is much stronger than the average person. The giant arm ability that came with it not only helped me to comprehend the body cultivation method, but also greatly increased my combat power. And my golden eye ability should also be produced by this bloodline. Now that I have reached the middle stage of foundation establishment and the blood refining realm, I don't know if it's good or bad that this abnormality occurred in a place with such dense demonic aura. There seems to be a trace of gold in the blood. As Lu Kuan muttered to himself, he suddenly discovered that there was a faint golden color in this drop of blood essence. It seemed to reflect the golden light in his eyes. Forget it. I can only take one step at a time. This bloodline is already inseparable from me. Based on the current situation, it has only brought me benefit. Shaking his head, Lu Kuan stopped thinking about the influence of the giant golden ape bloodline on him, and buried it in his heart. He said to the black mountain ape that was in a daze, Dahe, this drop of blood essence is what I said I would give you. Based on the scene just now, I feel that it will be of great help to your breakthrough. As he spoke, Lu Kuan placed the jade bottle on Dahe's thick palm. Dahe stared blankly at the drop of blood essence in the jade bottle and nodded repeatedly. Its expression was both dazed and excited. It clenched and opened its palm repeatedly and even stole a few glances at Lu Kuan. Although Lu Kuan didn't understand Dahe's words, he understood its expression. He smiled and said, "Dahe, this is indeed for you. Don't doubt it. As for when to use it, you can feel it yourself." Dahe heard Lu Kuan's affirmation and cried out happily. It then jumped down from the tree and entered the cave, impatiently cultivating. Dahe wants to use it during the breakthrough process? Lu Kuan then looked at Xiao Jin and asked, "By the way, Xiao Jin, does this drop of blood essence help you? When you were seriously injured, it was my blood essence that helped you recover quickly." Xiao Jin scratched his head and described it with a flourish of his hands. Lu Kuan said thoughtfully, "My blood has no effect on your breakthrough. At most, it can help you heal. In that case, your bloodline should be at the same level as the Golden Ape. So it has no effect on your cultivation." Squeak squeak. Xiao Jin nodded. Lu Kuan put away the jade slip in his hand and continued to speak to the little monkey. "Xiao Jin, stay by Dahe's side and cultivate. When Dahe or you are about to break through, inform me to come over. With your ability to absorb demonic aura, if you cultivate for more than 2 years in a place with such dense demonic aura, it is very likely that you will reach the peak of second-level demonic beast. I'm afraid that you will break through earlier than Dahe. When that time comes, I will have to help you." Squeak squeak. Lu Kuan continued, "I will cultivate at the edge of the demonic aura area. Even if other demonic beasts have any ideas, they will only act after advancing to 5th-level demonic beasts. However, when that time comes, I will come over to protect you and Dahe." Squeak squeak. Then, Lu Kuan activated the lightning attribute transcendence energy in his body and used the lightning manipulation technique to rush in the direction of the two-headed mountain peak. Xiao Jin also re-entered the tree hole. It and Dahe cultivated together. With each other's assistance, they could increase the absorption of demonic aura nearby. Minatora Lu Kuan quickly returned to the cave where Yui Feng and Xiao Jin were. He sensed that the two of them were obediently cultivating and recuperating. He said in a low voice, "These two are not weak, and their refining skills are not bad either. When we return to the Abyss Island, I will discuss with Senior Brother Qin." After muttering to himself for a while, Lu Kuan set up a new small cave in another place nearby. After setting up a few defensive formations, he planned to start cultivating below. Now that some time has passed on the Demon Island, I'm afraid that all the cultivators are preparing to break through the bottleneck of the core formation stage. The last 2 months of the next 2 years should be more dangerous. At that time, there will already be core formation cultivators. After I finish inscribing the Thunder Seal, I will use the spiritual chi here to cultivate with all my might. I will let my blood and transcendence energy nourish my internal organs. This will shorten my future cultivation time. Lu Kuan took off his robe, revealing the strong muscles of his 4 limbs. He looked at the Thunder Seal on his arms and the half-inscribed Thunder Seal on his legs. He muttered to himself, "Next is the inscription of the Thunder Seal on my legs." At that time, my body was not strong enough, so I didn't complete the inscription. Then, he started inscribing according to the method of the Thunder Seal on his arms. When Lu Kuan was inscribing the Thunder Seal on his arms, he needed to wait for his spiritual roots to appear. But now, his entire body had a spirit-controlling formation, so he could completely control all the lightning attribute transcendence energy in his body. Because the Thunder Seal on his legs was much larger than the one on his arms, he needed to spend more time. 2 days later, Lu Kuan finally completed the Thunder Seal on his right leg. The transcendence energy in his body increased by more than half. After all, the transcendence energy in his legs was much more than in his arms. After another 3 days, the Thunder Seal on his left leg was also successfully condensed. As a result, his 4 limbs could simultaneously absorb spiritual chi into his body. The 4 thunder seals could simultaneously transform the transcendence energy into lightning attribute transcendence energy, increasing his cultivation speed once again. Because of the low transcendence energy conversion rate of his blood, the side effects were also greatly reduced. However, on the 10th day, when Lu Kuan was halfway through inscribing the thunder seal on his chest, the previous failure occurred again. This time, Lu Kuan could clearly feel that the organs in his chest were faintly aching. If he forcibly completed the thunder seal on his chest, it would definitely cause great damage to his internal organs. Chapter 399. Spring went and autumn came. The sun and moon flew by like a shuttle. Time was like flowing water, passing by in a hurry and not stopping for anyone. Although one couldn't feel spring and autumn on the Demon Island, nor could they see the sun and moon, more than half of the time had passed. At this time, there was only half a year left before the Demon Island closed. Almost all the cultivators on the island were in the critical period of forming their cores. The disciples of the 10 great sects basically all had their seclusion grounds that were operated by their sects many times. They were extremely safe and didn't have to worry about being disturbed by other cultivators. Lu Kuan sat cross-legged in a cave. Due to the accelerated flow of blood in his body, he exuded an exuberant aura of qi and blood. Every time the lightning-type mana in his blood flowed through his organs, it would slowly strengthen them. The 2 small and 2 large thunder seals on his 4 limbs also emitted a faint purple light, transforming the spiritual energy that Lu Kuan absorbed into his body into thunder magic. Then, under the effect of the spirit-controlling formation in his body, this thunder magic rushed into the marrow cavity in the depths of his bones. Then, through a ratio of 9:1, it metabolized the fresh blood and produced new blood magic. Although Lu Kuan didn't deliberately strengthen his muscles and bones when he accelerated his blood circulation, this blood filled with magic continued to subtly improve his body. During this period of seclusion, Lu Kuan had a deeper understanding of the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm, which was also the blood refining realm. This realm could be said to be the most important stage of the Foundation establishment realm for body cultivators. It played a role of connecting the previous stage and the following stage. If it was connected to the following stage, it was to continue to stabilize the strengthened muscles and bones during the qi condensation and early Foundation establishment realm. If it was connected to the following stage, it was to unlock the internal organs in the body to the extent that they could contain magic. Only this kind of blood magic could achieve this function of connecting the previous stage and the following stage. Suddenly, Lu Kuan stopped absorbing spiritual energy and put away the cultivation technique. He slowly opened his eyes and estimated the time. 2 years have passed. There's still half a year before the Demon Island reopens. Xiao Jin reached the peak of the 2nd stage not long ago. It should let me help it break through in the next 2 days. Lu Kuan couldn't help but smile when he thought of the little monkey's excitement when it reached the peak of the 2nd stage. As a demon beast, Xiao Jin's bones were naturally stronger than a human's. Moreover, it was small and its bones were much smaller than Lu Kuan's, so it was easier to refine them. Coupled with the dense demonic aura here, it was completely within its expectations that it could reach the peak of a Class 2 demonic beast in such a short time. Lu Kuan then recalled the changes he had undergone in the past 2 years and sighed with emotion. Fortunately, I entered the middle stage of Foundation establishment on the Demon Island. If it weren't for the rich spiritual qi here, I wouldn't have been able to stabilize my soaring cultivation. I entered the peak of the middle stage of Foundation establishment in a short period of time, but according to the normal speed of cultivation, body cultivators must have spent a lot of time in this realm. Staying in the middle stage of the Foundation establishment for a long time, the body's foundation will be slowly stabilized by the magic power of the blood. As for the internal organs, They also begin to strengthen when the transcendence energy is first produced in the blood. If a normal body cultivator cultivates to the peak of the middle stage of foundation establishment under such a long period of imperceptible influence, there is an 80 to 90% chance that the internal organs will directly produce transcendence energy. Unlike me now, I still have to spend time nourishing and strengthening my internal organs. Lu Kuan felt lucky. Fortunately, I have the bloodline of the great ape. Not only is my body stronger than the average person, but my internal organs are also stronger. That's why my internal organs can withstand the strengthening of my blood magic at the peak of the middle stage of the foundation establishment. Otherwise, if a normal person did this, their internal organs would definitely not be able to withstand it and would collapse. I must remind Zhao Qingtian and the others of this point when they reach the middle stage of the foundation establishment. This stage must be done step by step. I'd rather spend a little more time. Although I don't have much of a clue about the core formation stage, the foundation establishment stage is always the stage for immortal cultivators to build their foundation. I believe it's the same for body cultivators. If a body cultivator refines his body in the middle stage of the foundation establishment stage, it will definitely be beneficial for the core formation stage in the future. Then, Lu Kuan felt that his body was more solid than before, as well as his blood vessels that were several times stronger. He also felt that his internal organs had undergone many changes. He said to himself, according to my current progress, if I cultivate on the Demon Island for another 5 years, my internal organs will definitely be able to withstand magic power. Unfortunately, that's not possible. According to the abundance of spiritual energy here, these 5 years are equivalent to nearly 15 years of cultivation in the outside world. Lu Kuan pinched his fingers and said, in other words, when I'm 70 years old, I will enter the late stage of the foundation establishment stage. According to my previous experience of breaking through to the next stage, the chances of breaking through to the next stage will be higher when one's lifespan is less than half. If that's the case, I have to reach the peak of the foundation establishment stage before the age of 130. If I try to break through to the next stage, the chances of success will be much higher. If that's the case, I have 60 years to cultivate from the late stage of the foundation establishment stage to the peak of the foundation establishment stage. This amount of time should be enough. Lu Kuan let out a sigh of relief. When he first came to Chu, he was allocated 15 years for the early stage of the foundation establishment stage, 25 years for the middle stage of the foundation establishment stage, and 40 years for the late stage of the foundation establishment stage. Top-level talismans before that? With the help of the Demon Island and the blood of the golden giant ape in his body, his cultivation speed had greatly increased, saving him at least 20 years of cultivation time. After I leave the island, I'll take care of some matters. First, I'll help Zhao Qingtian and the others enter the foundation establishment stage. Then, I'll go into closed-door cultivation for 15 years. First, I'll use this time to let the cultivators on the Demon Island forget about me. Second, I'll study the ancient method of core formation. While I'm at it, I'll buy some other special cultivation methods so that after I enter the late stage of the foundation establishment stage, I'll have a clear direction for the core formation stage. By the way, I wonder if Xiao Hongfei has successfully formed his gold core. If he has, I can even ask him about his experience with the ancient method of core formation. Lu Kuan sorted out the comprehension of cultivation in his mind for the past 2 years, as well as the future path of body cultivation. Just as he was about to continue cultivating, his blood suddenly sensed restlessness, excitement, and fear coming from the demonic aura area not far away. Is Xiao Jin preparing to break through? Lu Kuan revealed a hint of joy. If Xiao Jin became a third-level demonic beast, his strength would definitely improve greatly. Moreover, he would be able to verify his body cultivation with Lu Kuan's. Calculating the time, Xiao Jin is about to break through. Then, Dahe is also about to break through. I'd better stay with Dahe for the rest of the time. There aren't many opportunities to observe demonic beasts breaking through at a close distance. Then, Lu Kuan packed up his things and jumped out. At the same time, he glanced at the place where Yue Feng and Xiao Hongfei were and sighed regretfully. Lu Kuan knew that these two people had given up on condensing their gold core on the Demon Island just because they had not used that Dharma treasure to contact him. It was obvious that their injuries were not light. According to Lu Kuan's guess, Yue Feng and Xiao Hongfei's injuries could be healed, but the remaining time was not enough for them to form their gold core. Therefore, they simply gave up. After all, if they failed to form their gold core in a hurry, the chances of forming their gold core a second time would be even lower. Next, I'll help Xiao Jin break through. With his blood and my help, it should be a cinch. Chapter 400. Lu Kuan quickly ran and soon arrived at the giant forest where the Dahe was in seclusion. The other demon beasts in this demonic aura area were all in seclusion. They seemed to have an agreement with each other and wouldn't disturb each other. At this moment, Xiao Jin was standing under another giant tree not far from the Dahe. Its next breakthrough would be the same as Lu Kuan's. First, it would have to break all the bones in its body. Then, it would have to crazily absorb the dense demonic aura and transform it into demonic spiritual energy. Finally, it would charge into the marrow cavity in the depths of its bones. Although the little monkey knew about the entire process through Lu Kuan's breakthrough, it was still uneasy. Lu Kuan jumped in front of Xiao Jin. Seeing the little monkey's expression, he comforted, "Xiao Jin, you don't have to worry. Compared to me, your breakthrough is much easier." "Gigi?" Lu Kuan lightly smiled and explained, "Firstly, your demon beast's talent is terrifying. Its ability to absorb demonic aura is much more ferocious than mine. As long as it accumulates for a period of time, its demonic spiritual energy will be able to rush into the marrow cavity. Secondly, your demonic spiritual energy's self-recovery ability is much weaker than my lightning attribute. My lightning attribute includes the wood attribute, so it has a powerful recovery ability. Your bones won't recover faster than mine, which reduces the resistance to breaking through." Looking at the slightly relaxed little monkey, Lu Kuan continued, "Lastly, with my strength and control over my body, I can completely break all your bones in a short period of time. This way, the time you have to endure the pain will be much shorter." When the little monkey heard this, it immediately shuddered and looked at Lu Kuan pitifully. Only then did it remember that the difficult part of breaking through this realm was not breaking through the bone marrow cavity. Instead, it was to endure the terrifying pain and the scene of all the bones in its body shattering. Just thinking about it made Xiao Jin shudder. It still had to crazily absorb demonic aura, transform it into demonic spiritual energy, and control the accumulation of demonic spiritual energy. This was the truly difficult part. "Xiao Jin, have you forgotten how you were chased by the demonic beasts in the depths of the Luyang mountain range for some unknown reason? If you were strong enough, why would you have to destroy your own cultivation?" The little monkey also seemed to recall the days when it couldn't sleep at all. Even though it managed to escape with its life, it still didn't dare to continue cultivating. Its eyes gradually glowed red. Creak, creak. It immediately lay down and barked, urging Lu Kuan to start. Lu Kuan nodded. Spiritual light flashed on his hands, and two purple-black balls of lightning appeared. He held the two pseudo-magic treasures that were slightly larger than his palm in his hands, took a deep breath, and said in a deep voice, "Xiao Jin, just control your demonic spiritual power." Seeing the little monkey's serious expression, he injected a portion of his spiritual power into the balls of lightning. Then, he waved his arms and suddenly smashed towards Xiao Jin's feet. Crack! With his understanding of the little monkey, Lu Kuan accurately broke the bones of the little monkey's feet with one strike. Seeing Xiao Jin clench his teeth and remain silent, Lu Kuan didn't stop and continued to hammer upwards. After only half an hour, Xiao Jin's bones, including the bone marrow, were all broken by Lu Kuan. The ground was also soaked with blood. The little monkey's eyes were already white, and its lips were trembling. It seemed to be weak. Lu Kuan shouted, "Xiao Jin, use all your strength to break through. This little bit of pain is nothing. The road ahead is still long. If you can't even overcome this, how will you advance to a higher realm in the future?" Roar. Xiao Jin was awakened by Lu Kuan. It seemed to have thought of something and roared. Its eyes were red, and it was filled with an unforgettable hatred. It was as if the heavens and earth owed it to the little monkey. After this roar, the little monkey's body suddenly swelled and became the size of a normal person. Lu Kuan's expression changed. It wasn't because of the little monkey's hateful eyes, but because he was worried that this sudden increase in size would cause changes to the bones. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan immediately activated his golden eye and looked at Xiao Jin's body. Strange, the original crack has also become bigger. I didn't notice Xiao Jin's ability before. Now it seems that its size change ability is very similar to the Silver Dragon meteorite. Just as Lu Kuan was in a daze, Xiao Jin's enlarged body released a strange wave. The nearby demonic aura, no, it should be said that the demonic aura of the entire forest, crazily surged in Xiao Jin's direction. The scene of Xiao Jin's recovery appeared again. This time, it was even more terrifying. The dense yellow demonic aura formed a funnel-shaped demonic cloud with the little monkey's body as the center. This terrifying phenomenon immediately made the other demonic beasts in the demonic aura area sense it. However, they were all in the midst of breaking through and couldn't come over to check. Most of the demonic beasts attributed this to the Black Mountain Ape's breakthrough phenomenon. Roar. Another loud roar sounded. Lu Kuan's expression was incomparably shocked. He turned around and looked at the tree hole where Dahe was cultivating. Perhaps it was because of the little monkey's influence, Dahe's face was filled with pain. It pounded its chest with its fists and roared into the sky. Under the observation of Lu Kuan's golden eye, the black ape's demonic spiritual energy began to gather in its stomach. A yellow light also appeared on its fist. Dahe immediately grabbed a jade bottle beside it and impatiently threw it into its bloody mouth. Roar! The expression on Dahe's face seemed to be even more painful. Its hands rapidly expanded, and the two huge monkey fists hammered together. Every time they hit, it was accompanied by a painful roar. Then, Lu Kuan suddenly noticed that Dahe's arms were gradually expanding. The black hair on its arms was also becoming darker. In this forest of giant trees, a portion of the demonic aura that was originally rushing toward Xiao Jin was actually diverted, forming a funnel and rushing toward Dahe. With the influx of demonic aura, Dahe and its strange arms gradually returned to normal. Dahe is a legitimate demonic beast. If it wants to break through to the 5th level, it has to rely on the crystallization of the demonic spiritual energy in its body. Finally, it has to condense a demonic core in its stomach. Lu Kuan observed Dahe's breakthrough thoughtfully. From the scene just now, it can be seen that for a demonic beast like Dahe with amazing innate abilities, the most difficult part of breaking through to the 5th level is the obstruction of its innate abilities. Lu Kuan clearly saw what was going on inside the Black Mountain Ape's body. When Dahe was condensing the demonic spiritual energy, the pair of palms with innate abilities tried to snatch the demonic spiritual energy from its stomach. However, after Dahe drank the drop of blood essence that he had refined, the palms no longer tried to snatch the demonic spiritual energy. It should have received the help of the blood essence, and its innate abilities had probably successfully leveled up. It seems that Dahe's advancement to the 5th level is in the bag. Its arms can actually become thicker. Although it's much weaker than my giant arms, it's definitely more powerful. Then, Lu Kuan looked at Xiao Jin. He noticed that the little monkey was accumulating demonic spiritual energy outside its bones. It was waiting for the right time to break through. The demonic aura funnel above the two demonic apes' heads lasted for 2 days and 2 nights. Suddenly, Xiao Jin raised its head and let out an angry roar. The sound of barriers breaking could be heard from its body. The demonic aura above its head also returned to normal. At this moment, a blurry image of a demonic monkey appeared outside Xiao Jin's body. It was an extremely skinny golden ape that looked like a bamboo pole. The image of the skinny ape also raised its head and let out a roar. The roar was filled with resentment, as if it was angrily rebuking the heavens. A gap even appeared in the demonic aura above the forest. As if the roar had consumed all of its energy, the image turned into light spots and entered Xiao Jin's body. Chapter 401. After a period of time, the little monkey's figure returned to its normal state and opened its eyes. GG. Xiao Jin scuttled onto Lu Kuan's shoulder and hugged Lu Kuan's head with both hands, crying out happily. Lu Kuan sensed that Xiao Jin's demonic spiritual energy had increased by a notch. He smiled and said, "Xiao Jin, you are now in the normal state of a physique cultivator's breakthrough. After the breakthrough, your bone marrow is filled with demonic spiritual energy. Some of it has also appeared in your blood. Your aura has completely reached the level of a Class 3 demonic beast. Luckily, you didn't break through as quickly as I did. GG. Lu Kuan touched Xiao Jin's forehead and continued, "At this stage, you should build your foundation properly. If nothing goes wrong, when the demonic spiritual energy in your blood reaches the peak, you will naturally enter the realm of a Class 4 demonic beast." Following which, Lu Kuan revealed a thoughtful expression and said, "Xiao Jin, when you broke through, there was also a phenomenon. A golden demonic monkey as thin as a match appeared. It seems that this demonic monkey has mature memories and thoughts. It is far from a simple bloodline phenomenon. When you broke through, did you remember anything?" The little monkey shook its head blankly. It looked at its own yellow fur and cried out a few times. Lu Kuan smiled and said, "I didn't see wrongly. You have yellow fur now. It might be because your cultivation is not enough. When I first met you, you little monkey had gray fur. In the future, when your cultivation is higher, it should turn golden." It seems that the appearance of this phantom didn't remind you of anything. I still remember that back in the spiritual demon valley, you were stimulated by something and revealed a monstrous hatred. Your expression is completely similar to this phantom's. Looking at Xiao Jin's confused expression, Lu Kuan sighed and said, "Xiao Jin, your bloodline is probably not ordinary. However, when you reach a higher realm, you should be able to remember some things." GG. Right, just now, I seem to have seen the fur on Dahei's arm turn gray. Could it be because it swallowed that drop of blood essence? As if thinking of something, Lu Kuan looked at the black mountain ape that was crazily absorbing demonic spiritual energy not far away. The black fur on the ape's thick arms had faded, and the fur on the ape's claws had completely turned gray. It was easy to notice the uniqueness of its claws and arms at a glance. Suddenly, Lu Kuan and Xiao Jin looked at the same time. The man and the monkey were very sensitive to the demon aura. They could sense that the demon aura in the distance was also gathering crazily, and the intensity was no less than that of Dahei. It's about time. The other demonic beasts have also begun to break through. Xiao Jin closed his eyes and sensed for a while. Suddenly he cried, "Squeak, squeak." Lu Kuan said thoughtfully, "You said that when 2 or more demonic beasts break through, they will gather the wandering demonic spiritual energy nearby, making the demonic spiritual energy in the demon spirit mountain range even denser. In other words, the phenomenon caused by you and Dahei might have caused this demonic beast to break through." GG. In the other direction, another demonic beast is breaking through. Looks like you were right. Although Dahe is a traditional demonic beast and has broken through to the 5th level, it's still very rare to see a demonic beast break through to a higher realm. Perhaps it will be helpful to my physical cultivation breakthrough. After all, a demonic beast's physical body will greatly increase after entering the 5th level. Then, Xiao Jin and Lu Kuan guarded Dahe's side. They each observed the details of the demonic beast's physical body as it broke through. At the same time, on the eastern edge of the Demon Spirit Mountain range, there was a mountain covered with various restrictions. Countless spiritual energy in the surroundings surged towards it. However, as time passed, the spiritual energy slowed down. Finally, the spiritual energy calmed down. Then, from a cave on the mountain peak, a woman's cry could be heard. On the other side of the mountain peak, a golden light quickly flew over and stopped outside the cave, revealing a middle-aged man with pale golden skin. This man could be seen floating in the air, surging magic power wantonly, as if he was unable to control it accurately. Congratulations, Junior Sister Hua, for successfully breaking through to the core formation stage. This was Golden Peak, who had already broken through to the core formation stage. From his tone, the woman in the cave was the Fire Lady. Moreover, she had also broken through to the core formation stage. Not long after Golden Peak finished speaking, a fiery red figure flew out of the cave and appeared in front of Golden Peak. It was the smiling Fire Lady. Hee, it's all thanks to the spiritual energy you gathered that I was able to break through so quickly. I, the Fire Lady, owe you a favor. Golden Peak shook his head and said, this is supposed to help each other. If Junior Sister had reached the final stage of core formation a few days earlier, I would have also benefited. The Fire Lady smiled charmingly. Her core formation divine sense scanned the surroundings and asked curiously, Eldest senior brother is not here? Golden Peak sighed and said, we followed eldest senior brother's instructions. After the battle in the spirit descending platform ended, we came to the Heavenly Talisman Sect's encampment and began to cultivate in seclusion. But who would have thought that eldest senior brother would not return for 2 years? With his personality, he would not break through to the core formation stage in an unsafe place. Therefore, I suspect that eldest senior brother might have met with misfortune. Golden Peak said with a complicated expression. Fire Lady said in disbelief. Eldest senior brother's wind attribute magic was used so skillfully. Even that guy from the Dao 1 sect could not have killed eldest senior brother. There is a reason for my conjecture. Junior Sister, look at this. Golden Peak suddenly took out a spirit beast pouch. With a flash of light, a small white spirit mouse appeared in his hand. Fire Lady said in surprise, isn't this eldest senior brother's white spirit mouse? Could it be that this white spirit mouse came back by itself? Golden Peak said with a complicated expression, Junior Sister, you may not know this, but eldest senior brother's white spirit mouse has a trace of the bloodline of the heavenly spirit mouse. It has an extremely strong talent for tracking special magic. Fire Lady was very intelligent. Combining the scene of Philostikis and their separation, she could not help but guess, Old Gold, what you mean is that eldest senior brother used the white spirit mouse's tracking ability to track down Lu Kuan? On this demon island, only Lu Kuan has a body of pure magic of a special attribute. Even eldest senior brother could only wait until he reached the core formation stage before he could convert all his magic to wind attribute. Fire Lady was stunned for a moment and said in disbelief, Old Gold, what you mean is that Lu Kuan killed eldest senior brother. Golden Peak smiled bitterly and shook his head. I don't know either. But other than Lu Kuan, eldest senior brother should also be looking for Xiao Hongfei. Xiao Hongfei? That's right. Before eldest senior brother left, he specifically asked me about Xiao Hongfei. He knew that my good friend wanted to use the ancient core formation method to form a golden core. The magic power in his body is extremely pure. With the White Spirit Mouse's ability, it should be able to track him. Fire Lady murmured, "So, eldest senior brother's disappearance is related to these two people." Chapter 402. In the demonic aura area, Lu Kuan and Xiao Jin noticed that the demonic aura in the giant tree forest was gradually calming down. Both of them were overjoyed. They could feel the soaring demonic aura of Dahei in the middle of the giant tree. They knew that the Black Mountain Ape had successfully condensed a demonic core and entered the ranks of level 5 demonic beasts. Roar! Not long after the demonic aura calmed down, the gorilla that had become even more muscular raised its head and roared excitedly. The roar caused the demonic aura nearby to ripple. The more Big Black screamed, the more excited it became. A yellow light gradually blossomed from its hands, and the monkey fist increased in size by several times. Along with it, its hairy arms became a lot thicker, and a faint golden yellow light appeared on its chest. Immediately after, Dahei hammered its giant monkey fists toward its chest. The gorilla excitedly used its innate skill. Dong dong dong. A few dull sounds came from where Dahei was. A few invisible waves of energy floated through the giant tree and spread outwards. In the blink of an eye, the invisible waves of energy spread to Lu Kuan and Xiao Jin. Lu Kuan had already noticed that Dahei had activated its divine ability. After seeing the invisible waves of energy, he felt a little excited. He wanted to personally experience the terrifying control of the physical body. Buzz! This wave of energy directly entered Lu Kuan's body. At this moment, Lu Kuan felt the muscles outside his body tremble, as if they had resisted most of the energy. Then, the remaining energy entered his body, causing the blood in his body to suddenly stagnate. But then, his blood also emitted waves of mana and the power of blood, which easily removed this abnormality. For Lu Kuan's strong physical body, this wave of energy did not have any other effect other than slightly stagnating his body. Moreover, after experiencing Dahei's strengthened divine ability, Lu Kuan had a better understanding of it. This divine ability was targeted at the blood in his body. However, his physical body could defend against this energy. The powerful muscles outside his body that had been tempered for many years easily reduced the power of this divine ability by more than half. In the end, what was left was simply unable to have much of an effect on Lu Kuan's blood, which was filled with lightning attribute magic power. Just as Lu Kuan was thinking, Xiao Jin felt his body go numb, and he couldn't help but fall to the ground. Creak creak. Then, the little monkey seemed to fly into a rage out of humiliation. Its body suddenly swelled up and became as tall as Lu Kuan. The enlarged Xiao Jin easily blocked the next few waves of invisible energy. Its body was the same as Lu Kuan's, defending against the Dahei's mystique. As if it had heard Xiao Jin's cry, the excited expression on the Dahei's face suddenly froze. When it saw the angry Xiao Jin from afar, it immediately laughed foolishly. It used all four limbs to quickly run towards Lu Kuan and the others, and Xiao Jin's body returned to the appearance of the little monkey. Seeing this, Lu Kuan revealed a somewhat thoughtful expression. He thought, after Xiao Jin advanced to a level 3 demonic beast this time, its transformation is a little different from before. Xiao Jin's previous transformation had a slight increase in the strength of its body, but not by much. The biggest increase was in the demonic spiritual power in its body. Moreover, the mysterious material in the smart demonic valley could also slightly increase Xiao Jin's strength. So, Xiao Jin's strongest state back then was equivalent to a late Foundation establishment cultivator. Now that it has become a level 3 demonic beast, the enhancement of its transformation is more than that. Just now, Lu Kuan had clearly seen that Xiao Jin's fur after its transformation was a little yellow. Moreover, Lu Kuan felt that the aura after its transformation was very similar to that of the demonic beast phantom that had appeared before. Even the shape of its ears had changed. The only difference was that Xiao Jin's body was much stronger than that phantom. It should be because it cultivated Lu Kuan's body-tempering art. After Xiao Jin's transformation, it can calmly face the Dahai's mystique that it couldn't resist before. Its physical defense should be greatly improved. It seems that I have to communicate with Xiao Jin about its transformation. As Lu Kuan thought about this, he realized that the Dahai had placed Xiao Jin on its shoulder again. The black gorilla's face revealed a happy smile, as if it was an honor to be ridden by Xiao Jin. Then, the black gorilla turned to look at Lu Kuan with a look of respect and gratitude in its eyes. If it hadn't been for the bottle of essence blood that Lu Kuan had given it, it wouldn't have been able to become a level 5 demonic beast so smoothly. Its innate mystique required more energy to nourish it during its advancement. If nothing went wrong, it would snatch part of the energy that formed the demon core during its advancement, causing its chances of advancement to be greatly reduced. Who knew that Lu Kuan's drop of essence blood would directly provide energy for its innate mystique? An even stronger wave of energy would enter its body from the essence blood, as if it had refined its bloodline and improved its aptitude, allowing it to advance smoothly. At this moment, Lu Kuan turned his eyes and carefully observed the black gorilla that had become even more majestic. At such a close distance, he could easily feel the enormous blood qi in Dahai's body. This blood qi was even stronger than that of his martial uncle Su's silver-spotted leopard. One had to know that the silver-spotted leopard back then was something that even an early core formation cultivator would be wary of. It seemed that this black mountain ape's strength was even stronger than that of an average core formation cultivator. Then Lu Kuan thought of something and said excitedly, "Dahai, come, test your strength with me. Let's see how much your pure strength has increased." For Lu Kuan, the upgraded Dahai was just the right training partner for him. Dahai looked at Lu Kuan's body, which was much smaller than it, with a hint of hesitation in its small black eyes. "Dahai, just use the strength of your physical body. Don't use the spiritual energy of a 5th-grade demonic beast." Lu Kuan said, "A 5th-grade demonic beast's strength lies in its spiritual energy. Under the nourishment of the demonic beast's spiritual energy, many parts of the demonic beast's body will reach the level of a transcendent artifact. As long as you don't use your spiritual energy, I can still handle it. Woo!" Then, Dahai looked at its own fist, then looked at Lu Kuan. Following his words, it didn't use its spiritual energy, nor its innate mystique, and punched towards Lu Kuan. Bang! The two fists, one big and one small, quickly collided, producing a deep sound. Lu Kuan's fist, which seemed much smaller, actually easily blocked the gray monkey's fist. Lu Kuan frowned and said, "Dahai, use your full strength. What's the difference between your current strength and the previous strength?" Dahai smiled foolishly. It was afraid of hurting Lu Kuan, but from the previous exchange of blows, it could feel Lu Kuan's powerful physical strength and defensive power, so it was relieved. Then, its muscles gradually bulged, emitting a powerful aura unique to demonic beasts. Xiao Jin couldn't help but jump down from its head. Dahai gathered the strength of its body and fiercely punched towards the human in front of it. Lu Kuan revealed an excited expression. His body slightly squatted, and with the help of his legs, he transferred the strength of his whole body to his arms. At the same time, a faint purple halo appeared on the surface of his arms. Boom! A loud sound rang out, and at the same time, an invisible force spread out in all directions. The dust on the ground was swept clean by the aftershock of the attack, and Lu Kuan was directly sent flying by Dahai's huge fists. He crashed into a huge tree, causing the leaves on the tree to fall. Whir! When Dahai saw this scene, it was stunned for a moment and immediately became at a loss as if it had made a mistake. Xiao Jin, on the other hand, quickly ran to the place where Lu Kuan had been sent flying. Haha, Dahe, your strength has increased to at least 50,000 kilograms. If I don't use my mystique, I won't be able to take a hit from you. Lu Kuan immediately jumped up from the ground and walked towards Dahe. His arm flashed with a faint purple light, and there was also a surge of blood chi energy lingering on it. Clearly, he was healing his injured arm. Seeing that Lu Kuan was fine, Dahe's expression relaxed. When it heard Lu Kuan's praise, it scratched its head in embarrassment. Lu Kuan smiled and said, "Let me heal for a while, and then we'll fight. I'll use my giant arm mystique, and my strength will also be over 50,000 kilograms. Let's see how big the gap is between me and you, who have become a Class 5 demonic beast, in terms of physical strength. It just so happens that you need someone to spar with after your advancement." Dahe thought about being able to spar with Lu Kuan and experience the ancient demonic ape's mystique, and excitedly nodded. It gathered the strength in its body and rushed towards Lu Kuan. Chapter 403. In the sky outside another hidden valley in the Demon Spirit Mountain, a man and woman suddenly appeared. The woman wore a red robe and had a proud figure. She was looking at the valley in front of her with a strange expression. The other man had light golden skin. He was frowning at the white mouse in his hand, as if he couldn't figure out something. These two were the Fire Lady and Golden Peak of the Heavenly Talisman sect. The Fire Lady felt strange and said, "Old Jean, did the White Spirit Mouse lead us to the wrong place? If the map in our sect is correct, this is the Golden Spear sect space. Why would the White Spirit Mouse lead us here? This Spirit Mouse was Senior Apprentice Brother's spirit beast not long ago. Old Jean, it's possible that it led you to the wrong place." Golden Peak shook his head and said, "No, the White Spirit Mouse is already my spirit beast. Although there are some problems with our communication, it definitely won't lead us to the wrong place." The Fire Lady's expression dimmed. "I didn't expect him to be so powerful. Even Senior Apprentice Brother with countless spirit talismans died. It seems that the opponent is at least on the same level as Xianqingzi." Golden Peak sighed in his heart. When he let the White Spirit Mouse lead the way, the communication wasn't very smooth. In the end, Golden Peak had no choice but to try to form a contract with it. He didn't expect to succeed on the first try. This meant that their Senior Apprentice Brother, the genius of the Heavenly Talisman sect, the disciple of the Wind Spirit Root, Philostikes, had died on this demon island. Knowing this result, they were even more anxious and wanted to find the killer. Otherwise, if their Senior Apprentice Brother died, even if they successfully reached the core formation stage, they would still be scolded by the sect elders when they returned to the sect. Golden Peak's expression was complicated. Even if Lu Kuan is powerful, the possibility of him killing Senior Apprentice Brother is not high. The only one with such power is my good friend, Xiao Hongfei. He then looked at the White Spirit Mouse in his hand and said, "It's a pity that I just used the art of mind control to form a contract with the White Spirit Mouse. I don't really understand what it means. I only know that eldest Senior Brother was with Xiao Hongfei for a period of time." The Fire Lady looked around and said, "But we're following Xiao Hongfei. How did it lead us to the Golden Spear sect's territory? Logically, shouldn't it be Xiao Hongfei's seclusion place?" Jin Feng said doubtfully, "I find it strange too, but the direction the White Spirit Mouse pointed is here. The area in front of us is protected by restrictions, which is the Valley of the Golden Spear sect." Just as Huamei Nyang and Jin Feng were feeling puzzled, they suddenly felt the rich spirit qi in the vicinity fluctuating violently. Jin Feng and the others had just advanced to the core formation realm, so they were very familiar with this spiritual aura phenomenon. Wait, why is the spirit qi so terrifying? Soon, not only the area around the two of them, but the spirit qi in the valley in front of them also began to vibrate. The spirit chi above the entire valley, including the spirit chi in the nearby mountains, rushed madly to a small mountain next to the valley under the shocked gazes of Jin Feng and the others. The spirit chi that was so dense it was like mist formed a giant white hole and poured into the mountain. Impossible! How can breaking through to the completion level cause such terrifying spirit chi? Fire Lady murmured in disbelief. Jin Feng looked at the Golden Spear Sect's valley and then at the mountain peak outside the valley. He said in a low voice, "No way, is Xiao Hongfei the one advancing? Old Gold, you're saying that this is Xiao Hongfei breaking through to the completion level? The ancient core formation method's phenomenon is so terrifying?" Golden Peak smiled bitterly. "Shimmy, you probably haven't met this friend of mine before. His metal elemental mana is extremely pure and his spiritual energy has reached the completion level. If it weren't for the fact that the two of us interacted with each other on metal elemental spells and techniques, he wouldn't have interacted with me. It seems like his ancient core formation method has reached the end stage. As long as the spirit chi enters his body and helps him form a special metal elemental golden dan, he will successfully enter the completion level. Even though he just broke through, the two of us together are no match for him." Fire Lady was unconvinced. "We're both in the completion level. Is there such a big difference?" "Shimmy, you don't know this, but cultivators who break through using the ancient core formation method have their mana so pure that it's mutated. It can be said that his metal elemental mana is one level higher than mine. It's even stronger than the normal mutated mana. With the support of this mana, Xiao Hongfei can even release high-level spells. According to my understanding, this guy has already researched some high-level spells. After breaking through to the completion level, his power is no weaker than any mid-completion level cultivator." Golden Peak looked at the restless white spirit mouse in his hand and said, "Let's go find Lu Kuan. He should have some clues. As for Xiao Hongfei, let's return to the sect and report to the elders." Fire Lady listened to Golden Peak's explanation and nodded unwillingly. She and Golden Peak turned into two streaks of light and shot towards the other side of the Demon Spirit Mountains. Not long after Golden Peak and Fire Lady left, inside the valley of the Golden Spear Sect, a pale-faced man let out a sigh of relief. Although he couldn't hear anything through the valley's restrictions, he could still see that these two were Heavenly Talisman sect cultivators. Moreover, they had already entered the core formation stage. If these two were to attack the valley, it might affect the core formation stage of the other disciples. Damn it, if it wasn't for Dao 1 sect's Xian Qingzi telling us to chase after that powerful rogue cultivator, we wouldn't have been so heavily injured. I even lost the chance to break through to the completion level on Demon Island." The man gritted his teeth and continued to look at the phenomenon on the mountain. He said gloomily, "Which sect's senior brother is this? He's breaking through right next to our Golden Spear sect. There are still a few senior brothers who haven't reached the final stage of core formation yet. Otherwise, this guy's method of stealing spirit chi might affect them." It's over so quickly," the man muttered and suddenly found that the phenomenon around him had disappeared. The mountain also calmed down. Soon, a middle-aged man wearing a gray robe slowly flew out of the mountain. The Golden Spear sect disciple's eyes widened as he stared at the cultivator outside. How can it be him? This rogue cultivator reached the completion level. With the phenomenon he caused, he must be very powerful. The gray-robed man seemed to be able to see the man inside the restriction. He smiled and flew towards the valley of the Golden Spear sect. What does he want? Although we haven't reached the completion level, just this restriction alone isn't something an early completion level cultivator can break through. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.